Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaron from Jeranism, back with another live video for you today. TGIF, it's time for another Jeranism Friday Lounge. Happy holidays. So thank you guys for joining us. It is just another Friday Lounge, a little kickback session, and we've got basically a full house, I think, or almost a full house. We've got a lot of guests, so we'll be introducing them. First off, we've got David Weiss, who doesn't know how to mute during the intro. Dave Weiss, how are you?
Wow. I actually moved my position because of my crappy internet, and I guess I unmuted. So sorry about that.
That's right. It's okay. I don't think anybody actually heard it besides me. But that is Dave Weiss. He's here joining us. We're going to talk to him about a few things, but let's go through the rest of the list. We also have, from the land of the upside down, Iru Landucci. Iru, what's going on?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, welcome to the show. How's the weather there? Nice and hot again?
No, right now it's raining, so for me it's a little, happiness because I am not, I am in the new place and I don't have any air conditioner. So anytime that is warm out there, for me it's like being the hell,
I know that.
So right now I'm really good. I'm really well. Nice weather for me.
Good.
Are you with Linda?
Not yet.
No yet.
Soon though. He's like 5
But
days
if
away.
you want to, you can come here, David, and
Thank you.
Oh, that's an
to the
invitation.
shower, of course.
There we go.
Oh boy, the propositions have begun. We also have Rodrigo Ferrari Nunes. Rodrigo, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Now we
Very
can.
nice.
Good. Glad you're joining us. Thank you for joining the show. It's always good to have you.
Thank you for having me, of course, and very nice to be here. And yeah, here in Holland it is actually pretty warm today.
Nice. All
Not
right.
as cold as we expect, so it's really nice. Not so bad.
I think
Cool.
it's cold, but it's probably 50 degrees here. So, of course, we have myself, and then we also have a special guest, and this is kind of the goal of the Friday Lounge, is to get some new faces in here every once in a while. And tonight we've got the best voice in Flat Earth, that is Karen B. Karen, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no,
Happy
thanks.
to be here.
Yeah, the only thing I'm worried about, the only reason I don't like you on the show is who the hell is modding the chat.
I have the chat open,
All right,
the window
good.
open.
Wow, you can do both. Great, fantastic.
Yes,
All right, then
multitasking.
we
I'm
might
about to
be-
time out Brian Stavely. He's being bad.
Is he? Why?
I'm just kidding. He's just giving me a hard time like he always does.
Oh, I was gonna say. Come on, Brian's a good guy. Come on. And then I don't think. Do we have Bob on? Let me check the Skype. No, we don't have Bob yet. I don't know. Maybe Bob's not joining us today. So, yeah, everybody, welcome to the show. I thought here, real quick, we can start out with something funny that I saw, just because I always like a good laugh. And let's bring this up real quick. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. You are seeing my screen, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I just saw this. It's just pretty funny. I thought it was hilarious. These are some guys. I don't know what country this is, whatever, Japan or something. Some guys are about to rob some store or a bank or I don't know what, but these two guys are about to pull off a robbery and decide that this guy's like, I'm going to throw my brick through the window. Here we go. Brick through the window, and this guy's brick into this guy's head.
Oh, no way, man.
Instant karma.
Crime does not pay. So, yes.
I thought it was going to bounce off the window and hit him in his own head.
That would've been
That
funny,
was just
but-
as good.
That was just as good. Hitting your friend in the head. He was trying to rob it. Pretty funny. So, yeah, we'll start out with that. And let's see, what else do we want to talk about today? I brought David on because, well, Karen B got to hear the whole thing. I haven't heard the whole thing because it was painful, to say the least. Dave, I don't know how you do it, but you were supposed to be on the Anthony Cumia show January 8th. That was what you told me on Monday. And then
Yeah, in studio.
In
I was
studio.
supposed to go.
Right. And then all of a sudden, I saw a video pop up the other day. You didn't even tell me about it. I just saw it in my little recommended that Karen B had you on the Anthony Cumia show. I'm like, what the hell is this? Sure enough, Dave was on the
So-
Anthony Cumia show the other day.
It was a crazy day because Owen wanted me on his stream, and I was busy working during the day. I was like, I can't do it. So then around 4 o'clock, work wound down, and all of a sudden Anthony Cumia, emails me and he goes, "Hey, we're doing a live show now. Do you want to come on?" And I'm like, okay. I thought it was like an ambush. I thought like maybe Neil was there because he films in that same studio on his Star Talk show. And no, he's like, "No, I got these two comedians on." I turned it on. I'm like, okay, I'm coming on. And yeah, those guys,
wow.
they want to make claims that they believe are true and say that I'm wrong because they believe it. Like, no, anybody could go explore Antarctica. It's not true. He's telling me. I'm like, we've done the research. You have it.
And then they kept trying to get you to, prove a positive. No, you got to prove a positive. It's like, if you make a claim that unicorns are real, you have to prove that.
Who are these guys? Just for some context here, what's the deal here? What's the program in general about?
Anthony Cumia does a show out of New York City. He's a comedian and a commentary guy. He's got a fairly big audience and has interesting people on. He's had Neil deGrasse Tyson on. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So he's been talking flat Earth. He's a fan. He's a fan of Owen's. He likes what Owen does, but he's like, "Oh, and this flat Earth stuff." And he did 2 shows. Just doing what people that don't know about flat Earth do. Like, I looked it up. We think the Earth is rising. They think this. They think that. And all of the circumnavigation that proves it. And finally, I reached out to him, and he's like, "Yeah, come on, we'll book you." And then all of a sudden, the next day, I'm on his show.
Mm-hmm. And then they were giving you sort of a hard time, kind of a trollish kind of hard time. Or
I'm gonna stand up, back him up. What he's saying, he believes. He's ignorant to the facts, and he has indoctrinated beliefs. He overtalked me a lot, but they're comedians. They yell. That's what they do. It was 3 against 1, and he was very polite to me at the end. Or I don't think he was impolite. He's just a globehead that doesn't want to learn. I believe, though, that he is learning because since then I've emailed him a few times. I've said, "Hey, here's to this point. Here's to this point." I sent him a couple videos. If he watches them and has any intellectual honesty, he's going to have to change his opinion.
Right. What were some particulars that it struck you?
Well, Sticks and Shadows. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to lose my mind.
Oh. He did. Did you watch when I explained to him that Aristophanes was inserted into our history in the 1980s? And he did raise an eyebrow, like, that's very interesting. Yeah, but again, he's not going to check it.
You can find some books that mention Aristophanes from before 1980. I mean, the big argument there is the fact that there was people of his time that didn't mention him. But I'm sure you can find books that were rewritten in the 1600s that talk about it. I could be wrong. I'll have to double check.
The big problem is that you have an ancient tradition of artifacts like the Antikythera device that we know have been mentioned in the literature. So Cicero talks about it in the 1st century BC. This tradition of these artifacts that work, their clock, they're kind of like David's app. Very, very similar, right. But the ancient version, like the Antikythera device, and there's no ball in it. In the ancient world, you don't find the world being presented as a ball. So that's part of the problem here with the whole Aristotle's, in my opinion, narrative.
Do you guys think that the Antikythera device is a good flat Earth proof?
Completely.
Yes. It's
like astrolabes.
Yeah, it was created by Archimedes.
By who?
Right, Archimedes. Well, there's a tradition, I don't know exactly the Antikythera device. Of course, we don't know who did it, but as Ido is suggesting here, there's indications in the literature pointing to Archimedes, of course, an inventor, who also invented that mirror, the parabolic mirror lens. They could burn ships with the power of the sun.
Right.
Well known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here,
I like to share my screen a little bit.
All right, I love it.
Just a little bit. Okay.
I'll allow it. Let's do it.
Just the edge.
Yeah. Maybe 1-2 hours, no more than that. Okay?
That comes as a big surprise, either that you want to share your screen.
I know that. I'm surprised. But no, because
we're very shocked.
I know what I'm showing is in Spanish. I know that. But this is from what we're going to present this time in the Madrid conference. We're going to go a little bit in the history of Copernicus, Galileo, and what I want to show is that in the mainstream, in the official education system, this comes from, for example, from a group of scientists belong to this university.
There's a bank as well, right? Foundation.
Yeah, there is the French Bank Foundation that they put money and invite scientists to the TV shows and TV programs, media, etc., and they pay for write books or give stories to tell stories to public. But for example, when you go into Eratosthenes, and sorry for my pronunciation, when you go to real books in terms of what the academy think about Eratosthenes, when you start going into the books, and this is from PDF books that I downloaded and mark in red some of the important thing behind that. And I know this is Spanish, but I'm going to translate live with Rodrigo. But what is amazing is that, for example, anytime you want to find something about the Eratosthenes, I don't know how to pronounce, but
you got it.
He started with, for example, something that we're going to tell a story about an adventure. A really patient. Help me to translate to English, Rodrigo, if you want, if you can.
Yeah, totally. The adventure we're gonna relate or tell about is one of the most passionate realizations of the human kind. Its initial objective was to determine the size of the planet in which we live, and to make that happen, it was necessary knowledge, observation, and imagination. Reading these lines.
Stop there.
Yep.
Stop there a little bit. It's going to be an adventure, a passion adventure. We're going to need imagination. If you start looking into this world with a little more time, you start, maybe think a little different, because supposedly it's some kind of no doubt story based on only science.
Right.
But the guys who wrote every single year new books about this adventure, they use these kind of words. In fact, something that it's really amazed me. Can you keep translating? So.
So reading these lines, you can follow us in our trip to the Greece from the 3rd century after Jesus, and to repeat one of the most beautiful experiments of the history of humanity.
Beautiful experiments, They start to using these words because, of course, the Greeks civilization, they trying to find the beauty behind the creation. That is why they have this music from spheres, which is like a companion of information and knowledge about the Aristophanes. Eratosthenes? No, not Eratosthenes. Aristoteles.
Oh, Aristotle.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Writing about that the sphere in the sky produce music and things like that, and
or Pythagoras, probably you mean.
Pythagoras, exactly. So, in fact, NASA confirmed that in 2012 they sent a probe to the space, and they reached music in Saturn, in Jupiter, confirming the Pythagorean prediction of the music of a sphere. Something totally crazy.
Well, the other thing is that with radio telescopes, they claim in the literature that they're gathering acoustic signals, so there's definitely sound coming off the stars.
Sound.
Sound
traveling in the vacuum of space.
Yeah, no. Well, of course, we know it's not that, right? But yeah, for them, yes. Yeah, you're right.
And then they.
That's what's funny. Yeah.
No, it's insane. And then here, when I have my mouse on it, they put in bold letter and said the importance of the mathematics for comprehend our world. So they need
the whole world,
understand
Math.
our world. Exactly. And they say, thanks to the mathematics, we can know what is beyond our atmosphere. What? You need the mathematics to know what is beyond our atmosphere?
Well, isn't that what astrophysicists are? They're just mathematicians.
Yeah, playing games with math. Because math, of course, we talk about that nuance of mathematics, that it is important for measuring things in the actual world and for engineering and so on and so forth. Of course, it has application. But then when it comes to the super far away that they invented, that's all concocted, cannot be confirmed.
Mathematicians.
Mathematician part of it.
Right.
Exactly.
As you can do with language as well. You can tell the truth and you can also make stuff up.
Can you keep reading from here?
Yeah, from here, yeah. Thanks to the mathematics, we can understand, we can know what is beyond our atmosphere. Without the maths, of course, we would not know the size of the Earth, and we would believe that the moon would be just some few kilometers away, and that the size of the sun is the size of a province, like a state, and that the stars are fixed over a transparent sphere that turns once every day around the Earth. So they're basically describing
What it is.
What it is, yeah.
Our model, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they say we could, without the develop of the mathematics, know nothing about space and time.
We would know nothing about space and time without this kind of modern astronomy. That's ridiculous because we just mentioned the Antikythera device as a time measuring device, predictive device, and so on and so forth for eclipses. And yeah, of course.
And here comes the nice part, because supposedly science, but they use this kind of word. Can you translate it, please?
Miraculously, the measurement that Eratosthenes did was very close to, very approximate to, and the errors that on the determination of the distances measured through the steps of one person compensated for the mistakes of the model, since the Earth is not perfectly spherical. Neither Aswan or Siena are situated in the same meridian. And modern measurements from that they indicate the 40,000 kilometers for the longitude of the circumference, the medium longitude of the circumference, in the meridian being 6,378
blah,
kilometers.
blah, 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 blah. Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
all the math.
All the math, exactly. And when you go, for example, to this university from Spain, and it's a really well-known, university with this guy who has a master PhD in histories of the science and blah blah blah. They start complain about Eratosthenes. He started to say, well, it was incredible, miraculous that this guy predict this result and then become true without any kind of technology. So you have the guys who support Eratosthenes, and then you have the guys who say, well, what this guy did was completely insane. Assuming that the rays of the sun come in parallel and, blah, blah, all the things that we know. But, I just want to share this because sometimes people believe that there is no anyone out there in terms of the history talking about these supposedly scientific facts. And they, in their own science religion, they have problems, to agree with this kind of histories because there is no any real proof, first of all, of supposedly this guy exist in the first place. Thanks to Loki, every time they use words like Loki, miraculous, extreme adventure, So what it is a real fact or is like a novel?
Right. Yeah, and I see that I'm trying to find in my sources here how many times that Eratosthenes is mentioned in some of these ancient books that I have, and there's a book by Georgius Agricola about metal. It's ancient treatise about metal, and I need to confirm, but I think they're mentioning Eratosthenes, but I'm not sure. It is nothing to do with the earth. It is about the liquid asphalt. So it's some liquid that they make solid. Look at that. This is quite weird. You're talking about a liquid that in Babylon they used to turn into solid. But it's something supposedly Eratosthenes describes that's being mentioned here. So so far I can find. So I'm just trying to find, when he's being mentioned and how. So we get to the bottom of the story, and we can continue to do this. But what is significant, like I said, is that in the ancient world, in all these other cultures, they don't have the ball. Right? This guy is used by the mainstream science narrative we know now, it always used, which is quite a red flag by itself, because the test itself is so simplistic, and even Neil deGrasse Tyson himself has admitted that it works for flat Earth or this crazy ball. All right. Yep.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And Dave, did you ever get your point across to them about the sticks and shadows, or did they just never figure it out?
I explained it. I think they got it, but then they quickly moved on to something else. When it's typical when your gotcha debunks of flat Earth are shot down, you quickly jump to the next one to preserve your belief system. So I believe I did I planted some seeds in them, but I got to a lot of their audience. I had some good back and forth in their comment section when they posted the video, and there's people, checking out the app, checking out the website, checking out everything. So,
yeah, no, that's why you're amazing. Because when you were going to go into studio with him, I was pretty stoked to say, okay, that's awesome, a one-on-one. But when you go watch and you see he's got two comedians with him that are obviously ball believers and stuck in that belief, well, then you're basically like 3 against 1, and you couldn't really get a point across without them just moving to another point. Any point you made, they say that's not provable, we can't prove that, and then they go on and say that your Earth spins around the sun and flies through space.
Sometimes you got to just let the hosts go and worry about their audience, because that's what those three don't matter. It's their audience that matters. We'll see what happens. But after that, I got back on that AM radio show that I had done a while ago, and they cut me off for the second hour because they had a town meeting. Remember that?
The first time, right?
Yeah, the first time, and that was a real thing. Everybody flipped out, like, "Oh my God!" They shake you down. That's one conspiracy I don't believe in. I don't believe that's what happened. I believe that they really had to go and do a town hall thing.
Yeah, we got a super chat from Rhino Bratwurst
go
Bear. He said, Boeing Starliner equals fail. Dave crushed both his last 2 interviews. The one with KSCO is based close to me. Their parking lot equals flat smacked. And then we also got one from Rob L. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so they were really good this time. They obviously have been looking into flat Earth, and they have real questions now, and they were listening to answers. They never once interrupted me. Allowed me to make my points, and then they're like taking calls. And Karen was live streaming it, so that was great. She was sending in, tee up questions for me. People were calling in, but we had some real ballers call in, and ask their dumb questions, and that was fun also.
I don't remember why they showed. I'm going to press play real quick. I don't remember why did they show this picture.
They grappled with the arm. The Hubble brought it in, repaired it, and deployed it again. That is pictures of a satellite in space.
Yeah, is space fake?
I would tell you.
The guy just said, "Is space fake?"
Share on the Skype so we can.
Yeah, we can see it.
I'm sorry. Yeah. That's my bad. That's actually Ero's fault if we're really talking about it. Yeah. All right, so we were here. Let me make sure that's being played over there.
David, you've been giving lots of interviews. Do you ever find anybody who seems well prepared and on the globe side?
Well, no, because if you're a well-prepared glober, is a flat earther.
Yeah.
Right, that's a great answer.
That's kind of why I was glad I went on early. I went on early because people that study will do one of two things. You get on and they'll be like, "Oh my God, the Earth is flat," and now I'm talking to a flat earther, or they'll cancel because they freak out. They're like, "Oh my God, I can't win this," because their ego, they don't want to lose, and it's not that type of thing. Like Owen, he wanted to hammer flat Earth, but then when he realized he couldn't, he had a conversation, and now he's all the better for it.
So do you think it's fair to say that the people who are willing to come forward as globers are the most unprepared?
Well, the ones that hate flat Earth the most don't know what the flat Earth model is. They have a misconception of what it is, and they don't know their own model. That's the definition of a glober. Because if you understand the globe model, you're a flat earther.
Right. Or at least you're a globe skeptic.
At least you're a globe skeptic.
At the very least.
I mean, he was showing me the picture of the space shuttle that you just showed. That proves it.
Here.
I could do that in my closet, I think.
Let's press play there. I'm sure you will love this serial.
NASA hoax, but you just pull up a bunch of propaganda.
Okay, the International Space Station. We've seen plenty of photos. We've seen interviews with various astronauts that have come back.
What's this egg here, first of all?
Well, that's a fisheye lens, obviously. Look.
Oh, good. Okay, he got that part.
So
he did just say it was a fisheye lens. At least he's got that much. So we know that he's got that part at least.
I understand when something's a fisheye lens for the sake of getting more in the shot than it is to try to bullshit us about a curvature of the Earth. But I've seen plenty of pictures where the Earth seems to have quite a natural, logical curve to it, and things like this, where they use a fisheye to fit more in.
If you watch the ones that...
Oh, I thought that was Dave talking now. I didn't know that they showed that picture. Where did you talk about sticks and shadows? Was it earlier or later? I can't remember where it was. Probably earlier.
I think that was early, wasn't it? If I remember right.
Might have been. And then we've got Dave showing the app.
Right.
Nice job, Dave.
There's under the frequently asked questions, it says the FAQ questions. It says no curvature, and there's 100 experiments that you can watch and judge for yourself. Yes, they're on YouTube. It's just information. Judge it for yourself. Don't believe anything I'm saying. Judge it for yourself. So there is no curvature. Now let's get to Aristophanes. Did you know that Aristophanes, he's the one that figured out that the Earth has what size the Earth was with sticks and shadows, right?
Right.
All right. So how it was 500 years ago, 5,000 years ago, whatever it was, doesn't matter.
I forget a couple of grand.
I forget the number.
Who are these comedians, Dave? Or who are these two guys? I don't even know. They're just stand-up comedians, or some guys that do a show with them?
No idea who they are.
Oh, okay.
New York City comedians.
The one guy looks like Aaron Neville.
A little bit.
Any book anywhere ever until the mid 1980s. Okay, it's a fictitious story. Now I'm going to show you how the sticks and shadows work right now.
All right.
You got two sticks right here. Yeah. Okay. Right, and if I have a light right here above this stick, is there a shadow?
No, it's noon, right, on the equinox.
This stick over here, when the light is still over here, okay, this one has a shadow. Here's the light. Right. And here's the stick. This one has a shadow.
Right.
Yeah. So I've heard that.
Put two beer cans on the table, put a light over one of them. One of them doesn't have a shadow, one of them does. Right. That means your table is a sphere.
So that's great. David just said it perfect, right? That means your table's a sphere. We just measured shadows, and then here's the answer.
And we can calculate the diameter of it. It's nonsense. The diameter of the Earth is an assumption, okay? The equator is you were right before. The equator is the circle on the flat Earth that's halfway between the center and halfway between the Antarctic ice shore, okay? And that circle is 24,900 miles around. When you try to fly west 270 degrees or 90 degrees, east or west, you have to constantly correct to the north to maintain that heading. And people say, well, pilots don't do that. That's bullshit, because it's the same thing on a ball Earth. If you leave, let's assume we lived on this fucking crazy ball, right? And you're going to leave California heading due west, 270 degrees. Okay, the North Pole is at the center, right? Here we are. This is north. This is west. As I'm going this way, I have to keep turning to maintain that compass heading.
No, you don't. You're flying this way. You're not flying. Wait. You're not flying next to the Earth like
Unbelievable.
the Universal Studios logo. You're this way. You're flying around. So I've heard the take where you need to keep nosing down to do that, but you don't because gravity is
Change the
pulling.
topic.
Gravity pulls it down. Oh boy, yeah, but just an awesome.
What do you guys
job
think
by Dave.
of when people have that misconception that you're not circling? When I say, imagine yourself 1 mile from the North Pole, right, and your compass is pointing it to the north, 90 degrees is west. You have to maintain that 1 mile. That kind of forces you to see the circle, right?
Of course.
That west is a circle.
But nobody ever gets it. Nobody gets it.
You're going around the north, right? North is always the center to, even on the ball, how you navigate.
Yeah.
So if you're going west straight, you always have to make a curve. It's pretty obvious.
So that's what I do. I bring them to a mile, and then I say, you keep going west 3.14 miles later, and they think they're smart because they're like, oh yeah, that's pi, and then you extend that farther and farther out, and the circle a circle that's 100 miles wide. If there was a road that was a perfect circle on a flat plane, or a globe, doesn't matter, that's 100 miles wide,
You'd never notice.
You would not notice it at all.
No way.
You would think you're driving straight.
Even if you had a compass in the car and it pointed to the north, which would be, at the middle of that circle, you would still drive east or west and never know that you were turning.
Right. The only way that you would know is by the sun in the sky. Anything in the sky that's moving.
Yeah. Well, you will always be. Yeah, and you always be looking for when the sun is rising in order to move in the landscape. But I think what you're pointing to here, David, it's what Jaron has demonstrated way back years ago. And I think you showed it recently again, Jaron, when you go to Google Earth and you start drawing those straight lines and you show that you have to make that, if it would be actually a straight line, you end up in Antarctica somehow. Keep going, right? If you go in little increments, is different than going on a big line, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, because it's just too small to notice if you're talking about, in your own state or something. I'm just going east or west. I mean, they're going to appear to be very straight lines in the same direction. And somebody who's east of you, you would appear to be west of them. But as soon as you draw that out any further and get it, say, across the country or especially across the continent, then, yeah, absolutely. You would notice that you're heading south. And I've showed that many times, right, that you can, somebody who's east of me in California, if I'm looking on the East Coast, if you go put a marker there and then try and draw West Coast, no, you're nowhere near west of them. You're way west, northwest.
Yeah.
So
I love the background behind Anthony Camilla too. The whole time, everybody in the chat was commenting, "Look at the flat horizon behind him."
Yeah,
you know what I wanted to do? I was so excited to go in the studio, and I know he loves cameras. I was going to break out my P1000 and then turn around at the green screen and zoom in. I'm like, I can't see any curvature, so I would be looking at a green screen, but everybody would think I'm looking at that horizon.
That might be worth going just in and of itself.
Yeah, that would be funny as hell.
Yeah, it's just I think we've all been convinced and indoctrinated to believe that this is the edge of a sphere going around us, and that's just what everybody believes. And it's not until you realize that you can only see so far, and that with different, whether it's an infrared camera or it's a clear day, all of a sudden you can see mountain ranges back here, and then you start realizing, oh, this is just the limits of our eyesight, and that's the beginning of really knowing what's going on. And Dave, was it today or yesterday? I don't remember what day on the app video notification that you put the Potter's Clay video. Was that today?
Which one? Today? I think it was today.
Was it today? Okay, yeah. Potter's Clay did a video, part 1, where he answers a bunch of questions. Is it? Let me see if I have it up here already, or if I
it was mostly the clip of Rob Skiba showing the light under the clouds,
but it's
the
so
bottom of the building cut off.
It's so good.
So good.
So
and
good.
then and I also have the parts 2 and 3 that follow that if anyone lets it play.
Right. Yeah, this is fantastic. So, in this one video, which is only 10 minutes, it answers the following questions. Why wouldn't you see forever on a flat Earth? Why does the bottom of buildings disappear first? How would the sun set if Earth was flat? Why doesn't the sun shrink if it's traveling away? How does the sun hit the bottom of the clouds? Why does the sunset happen later on the upper floors of the world's tallest buildings? I mean, these questions are questions we get all the time. And so this is a fantastic video to send to somebody. It's 10 minutes and explains it all. Did you guys see it? Rodrigo, you saw it?
I haven't seen it, but it looks great.
It's on the app. Just click the featured video, my friend.
David gets pissed off if you miss any of the videos from the app.
How dare you?
That's right. These are very important videos. Everybody has to watch every video I put up.
What I've seen is something that Ido has shared with me, which is a Spanish full-on documentary on the flat Earth. I was quite impressed. I hope he talks about it later, because I think he helped to put that together, and it has already over 40,000 views. It is quite detailed.
Hey,
I'm not sure.
Can we?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
Just an
talk
outside,
about
sorry.
the launch today, and then I want to tell you what JQ and I did this morning.
My God. Did you notice, David, that in the launch, in the mission control, there was always just CGI on the screens? The ridiculous caps.
I wasn't even looking at that. I was too disgusted with that. I turned it on like 1 minute before the launch, which was which
at the time I shared that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I was on at the same time.
Yeah, it was again with the 50 different cuts, the launch, and it's just like 2 seconds, 1 second, 1 second. It's just like cut, different film. It's just a Hollywood production.
What do you think of the communication guys, the communication crew? Did you get to that point, to the woman and the man?
What were they doing? I don't remember.
Because he said something which is, think about this. The thing, it was this, it's called Starliner by Boeing, I guess. And of course, it goes off in this conventional rocket, very slow, like the balloon type rockets, or whatever. It goes slow, and then it's going to fall. And of course, you see the whole parabolic thing. Then they get the little CGI thing. But they tell you, the guy in the communications, he says, this is going to catch up with the International Space Station in about 24 hours, but it's going at 17,500 miles an hour. How is it going to catch up if it's at the same speed? Right? Somehow it is. I don't know how, but they don't. There's so many mistakes in the things that they say. They fumble over and over and over again.
But
over this, go ahead.
They also are doing some mind control at about 1 hour and 11 minutes. The announcer says the rocket is following a flat Earth trajectory, and just rolls right over it and keeps on going. I mean, They're sticking this stuff in there. I don't know if they're mocking us, if it's wizardry. It's so ridiculous.
Well, one thing I noticed as well, David, I'm not sure it struck you, but they did not show a lot from the CGI of the rocket or any cameras from the rocket, but they make a point of showing how big was their control room with hundreds of people. Did you see that? And they're doing nothing. They're just sitting there, and they tell you that they're monitoring everything.
So JQ, he was watching a live stream by a young NASA fanboy who with a big green screen backdrop like he's at SpaceX, and he's doing commentary on the what's going on with the launch. And supposedly the launch was a little off trajectory, and then they went quiet, and like it's a failed mission, it's going to come down. And so he and I were in the chat trolling them, but not letting them know we were trolling them. We were just like asking questions, asking little just planting seeds. Like, how does a rocket turn in space? And if they said that it's at a steady 3.5 G acceleration, how does it increase the engine speed to keep up that acceleration, right? If it's increasing 3.5 Gs steadily, the fuel has to be coming out of the engine faster and faster all along the way, right?
Yeah. And also, if you compare with planes that don't even get to be going that fast and they start melting, you have the other problem. And the thing doesn't look as fast as the sounding rockets. Go ahead, Hiro.
No, I mean, guys, Sputnik supposedly is up there.
Still.
It's still up there?
Supposedly, yeah, man. I mean, after that, you can, you can invent whatever you want, there is a lot of supposedly satellites up there without any kind of thrusters, still
Thousands.
being in orbit.
Yeah.
You know,
maneuvering or
maneuvering. So
yeah, I think they make claims about how they have to come up with a system for the satellites to avoid colliding with one another.
So wait, hold on a second. While we're looking at this, you see these people watching? Go back, Jaron.
Yeah. No, people
So
can
the
see it.
people watching, they
I'm just-
couldn't care less. Some of them are on their phones texting. And then if you look at the rocket, there's no jet trail. There's no trail behind the rocket. It's just a light.
Right.
well, but that could be just from the camera below. I mean,
You
Well,
think?
the commentator.
I work
I think-
a lot with
They
other
talked
cameras
about that
in
too.
live
They-
events, and
But I think
the
yours-
lights, it's
Karen, go ahead.
really different.
Well, I'm just trying to
Sorry.
figure out where we all stand here. I mean, Iru, you think this is actually being launched, right? Just launched
Yes,
into the water.
yes. For me,
Yeah.
it's all real in terms of what they do, but they don't reach space. They don't reach more than 45, 50 kilometers up there.
Right.
Let
And
me
then
tell you what
go
I-
to the-
And if you believe
the
all the
ocean.
speeds that they give you and everything, I mean, you have to remember that nobody's
No,
calculating
the speed is completely.
It's a lie.
It's not more than 2,000 kilometers per hour at least.
Correct.
But I never saw again this kind of the
2,000.
air behind. When you broke the sound barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In some old launches from NASA, you can see that in the space shuttle.
In
Jared,
some
But
of
you
the-
never see going
What?
more faster than that. I mean,
Hero,
it's-
I'm going to
it's-
set the over-under at 300 miles per hour, and I'm going to take the under.
They
Yeah,
don't
under
even. They didn't show
2,000
any data
kilometers per
either
hour.
when they did the launch. They weren't
No,
showing
there's no
any of
data.
the speed or telemetry data or anything.
They'll
No,
mention
but the
it,
telemetry you can make up.
You can make
I mean,
that
you
up.
Yeah, no,
can
it's
put
always made up.
numbers
I mean-
down there and
But I think Karen is pointing out it's significant because they always put that there, and it always looks so odd, wrong. I mean, you see it sometimes with the SpaceX when they give you the numbers, the thing has already landed, and the numbers are still going. Like the whole thing is a mess. So
Those
they
are
probably
just
took it out.
numbers.
Right.
Those
They're
are
just
just
of
numbers.
course.
Look
Yeah,
at
we all agree on that.
Look at the fire coming out of this thing from the different angles, and think about a blowtorch. How fast the fire is coming out of a blowtorch, and I think it's coming out at maybe 80 miles an hour. Look at that. Look at that flame right there. That is not 1,000 miles per hour. That's not 200
No.
miles per hour.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's always going-
that is
it's
just
already going
a
down.
fake little show flame. Okay, now I think that the camera view of the people looking, that's one thing. That's filmed at another day, at another place, or whatever. And then the initial takeoff, that's a blimp with some sort of a little bit of thrust and
Well,
some
David,
light and fire.
What's really significant what you're saying here, I'd just like to point out, because you're mentioning that particular scene when that light is going up in the sky, and it looks very different from the rocket. And the commentator from the launch, okay, the young guy with the beard, he comes out and says it looked like another sun going up in the sky, and I
Yeah.
thought that was significant.
I saw that. I saw him say that.
Look at this little fire. This fire is taking tens of tons of metal up in the sky. That's nonsense. It's just so ridiculous to even consider that as a possibility.
Well,
The fact-
I mean,
the
what
fact is,
you
it's like a big missile, I mean,
Right.
supposedly, let's just imagine that it's all completely real in terms of the mechanics, because it's like a big missile. They reach a point where they just put the missile in a horizontal way, and they take away from your view, and
Right.
it's nothing more than that. I mean, supposedly we went to the moon in the 1969, and why we going to surprise now with this kind of old style mechanics? I mean, I like to see like a big missile and nothing more than that. It's burn fuel and reach out of our view and fall into the ocean, and the shows must go on. Things like that.
my only problem with that.
They
is,
never
like,
put. I
what
mean, they never put people on it. For example.
Yeah. What I think is the little tension that's going on here is that, and I think we can think about how the sounding rockets work and how missiles work, right? The sounding rockets are very fast. They just go straight off the bat. They go boom, wow, and so are missiles. And what we see here is something different. These things go up very slowly, and
Yes,
some of them
because
have
there are-
been. We have determined that
weight.
some of them. Yeah, they seem like balloons. Remember for instance, the other, how on the space shuttle launch, the thing that connected the tanks to the shuttle was just like a ridiculous looking wire.
But why you assume that video from the rocket you mentioned, it's real time? I mean,
no. I'm saying I'm not saying any of it is real. I'm saying what we're seeing here is two kinds of phenomena. Like, because David's saying this is probably all fake, and you're saying maybe it is a launch of some kind. But what I'm pointing is just to this difference. I don't know what exactly to believe. I'm not saying I believe in any of it, but there's one difference in that the sounding rockets that we know go up, they're very fast from the get-go, and these are very different in the way they go up.
Completely, because this is more big. For example, there is a nice example from a Chinese private company, and I showed that before in the Globebuster, that they are filming from a drone, and you can clearly see what the trajectory is, how the missile or the rocket behave. I mean, you are talking about let's try to put some intermediate example. You have the sounding rocket, which is like just an arrow in comparison with these big rockets. But in the middle, you have, for example, what is the ballistic missile, intercontinental ballistic missile. Like you launch from a big truck. And that is not behave like a sounding rocket. It's behave
even from a ship. You can
even from a ship, exactly. And that but not from a ship, because from the ship, I don't. Well, I believe you have the same kind of size. So you have these three stages to compare. You have like the sounding rocket, which is like an arrow, straight up, very fast, very quickly. Then you have the ballistic missile and the rocket launch, which doesn't have much difference. They launch into the sky and then take this straight path, like an horizontal path, until get away from your view. And
that's
those
why
two
from this point on, there's nothing. Right, there's nothing else. They don't show you anything else from space. This is
exactly.
it.
That's what I was telling you. It's so annoying that they make the point of showing you how many people there, because this is one of their stronger points right now. Right. They believe
all these people are lying. All these people are faking us.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. This proves it right here. All of these people couldn't keep a secret. That's why they're showing you this shot.
Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. That's what I think.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, because if you
without a doubt, but what they do, why there is no camera showing us what they see in the monitor, which is just numbers from a game.
I was looking at the comments too.
Yeah, the comments are hilarious. I know people.
The comments. There's people in the comments. They're like, "Where's the camera? If the no camera means it didn't happen."
Right. No cameras on the rocket.
Exactly.
Everybody's saying flat Earth.
And the way you see that this has to be fake, Jaron, in my opinion, it's like if you're a good director for a media, say this is real, right? They're actually going somewhere, right? What we want to see all these cameras all the time. We want to know what these guys are doing. They should be able to talk about it, which is see what's on their screens. There should be no problem with that. That should be, highlighted. This is this screen, that screen, everything that's going on, how it works.
What is this guy doing? What is this guy doing? What is this guy doing? The fact is, they're all doing nothing. There's nothing that any one of these guys can do on their computer that would affect any kind of launch at all. Mm-hmm. Nothing.
You see they have graphs when you get a glimpse out of it. You see the little graphs and in screens, all text and things like that. And a counterpart that I like to think about, it's how, if you ever watch, and I don't watch it, but if you see it nowadays, how Formula One races are shown. And it's so technological. Like you have cameras everywhere. You have all the details. You have the heart rates. You have everything you want in it, like they're showing you. And that's well fueled and greased operation.
Exactly, Rodrigo.
Yeah.
And one thing that's really great is that
Bob
people are now starting to wake up that the fact there is no camera footage. It's like, where's the camera footage? Why aren't we able to see any of this? And hello, everybody.
Bob, welcome to the show.
Hello, Bob. Hello. Go ahead.
Put on the door.
Invite yourself.
Yeah, I thought I'd just invite myself right in on this, so no problem. Yeah. But I was actually on a Skype call with my buddy, the PhD electrical engineer. And man, that guy he's so smart, man. I just love the stuff that he gives me. We have the greatest conversations.
You got to start sharing that stuff, Bob. You just keep giving us this kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm having
I do. Where do you think? Where do you think the incoherent magnetism stuff came from? And now he's helping us with exactly how the gyro compass is determining true north. And I mean, he's got some great information. So yeah, I absolutely. I wish I could bring him out publicly, but I certainly understand why I can't, and I won't ever. But
yeah, it's great.
Man,
it's great
what a great guy he is.
Keep him
He
safe.
he can stay anonymous as long as he keeps giving us the juicy juice.
Exactly, and boy, he's full of it. He's got a lot of good juicy juice.
Here you go, Karen. You got everybody asking in the chat. Is there no cameras on this Starliner? SpaceX has cameras. Did Boeing forget the cameras? You got people down here saying they don't have the footage yet. What is the purpose?
What is the purpose of showing these people?
Right. What is the purpose?
Yeah.
And people sit here and they eat it up. And I mean, the other thing that you'll see in here is like, we love you, NASA. Thank you for being the savior to humanity. Yeah. You know, there's always those ones in there too.
So stupid.
Oh man.
God.
Congrats. Where is the rocket? I want my money back. Horrible. I'm calling Elon. I mean, it's just when you realize how cheap cameras are and how, I mean, you would have cameras all over this thing.
Unbelievable.
You just
Man,
would.
the thing that you are seeing there is not different than a bank. You know, you go to the bank and you have a lot of desks with computers and nothing, you know.
Yeah, but in a bank, in a bank, people are talking and they're doing things and they're having to do things in time. They have schedules. They have to finish things. These guys are doing nothing. They're just sitting back and.
Oh, they are super.
You know what's really amazing about this, guys?
They're analyzing data, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
They're looking at
you know what's
data.
amazing about this, guys, is on the takeoff, right? On the takeoff, on the ascent, they've got 14 dozen different camera views, right? Oh yeah, well yeah, we got to see it from this angle, from this angle, from this angle, and then after that, they just completely go away. I mean, come on, people, that's got to be a big, giveaway to somebody, When
JQ and I were in the chat, I said, hey, does anyone know where I can get the uncut footage from all the different cameras that they have at launch? I said, because they switch every 1 or 2 seconds. I want to see the uninterrupted film. Does anyone know where I could find that? Because the way they do it, it's kind of like how Hollywood does it. And everyone's like scratching their head. It's like, well, NASA's the only one that has this footage. So that was fun.
This guy says here, good thing. ULA always releases the video afterwards. We've heard people make that claim too, that SpaceX, releases all their uncut footage from the barge every time. But we've never seen it one time, This person says a bunch of overweight people sitting behind monitors. Spectacular. No pictures, no data. NASA sucks. No one believes you anymore, NASA. The cat's out of the bag and the serpent's tongue doesn't work anymore.
Good job, AJM. I know that guy.
Great
nice.
Stuff. So these people are, so why didn't we see anything after the launch? It's just, oh boy.
What a joke.
And then, these two sit here for a while after the launch and they talk about, we're such a big family.
And the rumble of the rocket. Oh, you feel it's real because of the rumble of the rocket.
Yeah.
Real good speaker system.
This one says, show us the rocket with your camera. Nope, you don't get that. Why no telemetry, of course.
And all the smoke. I think this is one of the things that David was pointing out too, that some of the launches do look like total CGI in terms of the fire that's coming out of the thing. I mean, of course, in the SpaceX, you get a lot of the smoke from the smoke machines, and that's been going on for a long time because it is a Disney ride, and it's right next. When I went to Epcot Center in Disney when I was a kid, I had to go to Cape Canaveral because it's part of the package, so it's all part of. The show, but sometimes you don't see the smoke. This is the thing. Sometimes you see these Russian launches, and sometimes there's smoke, sometimes there isn't. It's all really all over the place.
And
NASA brings the smoke and mirrors description to a whole new level.
Oh, boy, do they ever. I'm trying to think where did that start? I would love to look at where that started, that saying, because it probably started about 1958. I love this, too. They always have this camera guy who just goes around. Can you imagine being at work and just somebody's coming around with a camera just to show your face? I mean, you can watch these guys. They do nothing. This guy, just with his hands here. This is his job. What is he doing? This guy, what are they doing? And this guy just films.
No, they has 10 monitors in front of him. 7 or something. 7.
Facebook.
He's on the gram.
Cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have the big sign saying who is it, like flight director. It's like some big neon sign. Look at that.
They're all watching Globebusters. That's obvious.
I'd say that the chat is probably 25% people calling out NASA, which is great. You know, I mean, because it's just what I mean. If you think about it, 5 years ago there wasn't that.
Look how interesting that is. The name that they give that guy, they call him the conductor. I think that's quite significant. That because he's conducting this kind of orchestrated choreography, which is what it is.
Yeah, but the text in the background, we do more inspiring. Of course, it's the only thing that they can do.
What does it say? There's something we do more inspiring. What?
There's nothing. There's nothing we do more inspiring. And what's the text underneath it say?
For the next generation than the work we do in human spaceflight. Here we go again. No camera feed.
It actually means, there's nothing we do that's not just inspiring.
That's their job.
How do people believe this stuff anymore?
You know why, David?
Because there's this many people, Dave.
Willful ignorance.
They use neon lights in the desk.
Right. They get these nice name plaques.
Yeah.
They're made out of glass, which is good.
It makes it real.
Good for my money. Yeah.
I was watching that, listening to that guy talk to, and supposedly he came up with like the flight plan or whatever. And he was like, "Yeah, I did it in my spare time." Some guy asked me if I could come up with some flight plans for this, and I did it in my spare time. Sure, I got some spare time. Just drawn
I thought that was
napkin.
hilarious. Yeah, I thought that was like, what the hell?
And
he's like, yeah, would you just look at these flight pads? Like, really nonchalantly. He's like, yeah, okay, I have some spare time. And then 7 years later, here I am orchestrating this choreography. Look at that. Look, that's what I was talking about. Look at the monitors of CGI.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be much easier to actually have those flight paths than to illustrate them?
It's
quote Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It's much easier to go to the moon than to fake it. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we just go?
Been saying that for a long time.
I like to share my screen if you allow me.
I will allow it.
Okay.
I can't watch this junk anymore. We did get a R2D2 showing up in the super chat. Says when a space capsule enters Earth's atmosphere 62 miles with 17,500 miles per hour, it has less than 2 seconds to slow down before it crashes into the ground. How are they slowing so fast and surviving that? Well, they'll just tell you it's slowing down in the atmosphere and burning up, and
you just reminded me, Jared, before Edo goes on, it starts. You just reminded me of something that I thought was significant watching these launches as well. That they had this whole something there as part of their wizardry, I think, that they call C3PF. It's something they refer to as C3PF, and of course, it rang a bell with C3PO, right? Because you just said R2D2, and this is part of the. These are the little things, that catch people. I think, how they make these references to science fiction all the time, and that draws their heartstrings without them even noticing it. I think.
So, science fiction is science fact now.
Thank you. Yes, Tony O-Face Pro says there's no indigenous population from Antarctica. Well, there's penguins. Penguins are indigenous there. All right, you're on, I believe. I think.
Yes, could be. Yeah, could be that. No, what I'm trying to say is this is just a compilation, for comparisons purpose. Comparison. Thank you, man. Thank you. But I mean, imagine this as just like a missile, with a tiny missile attached, nothing more than that. And when you start looking into the flight path, and of course this has a really wide lens camera, and immediately you can follow and you can make like a reverse engineering in terms of the path that this took, and it's non different than the plane. It's just that the plane is not go so straight up at the beginning, but then take like this crucial kind of flight path, which is this. Look at now. This is just a straight path.
It's funny that there's no curvature. Who would have thought there's no curvature?
Yeah, it's not curvature here. I know that. Then they go this kind of mixed things, but this kind of little curvature, this came from the camera lens. It's not based on the shape of the Earth. So, after really, and this is in fast forward mode, of course, because it took like 3 minutes to reach this point, or 2 minutes. But after all, what you can see here is just like the rocket is in different orientation based on the camera reference, but it's just in a straight path. It's a very straight path, keeping the altitude, the same altitude all along the way. And the official videos, they only show us 3-4 minutes, and then they go to CGI models, and they never go back again to real continuous live feed. Especially in these old rockets. And when I say old, I mean just like maybe 2005, 2008. And the difference with this from here, which is, I believe this is from SpaceX, it's that here, for this is my opinion, okay? Right now it's real footage. It's just like a missile, just flying into the sky. But then when they start to go into, this is a real image, when you can really see the like really the sky, blah, blah, blah. But then when they start doing this kind of camera switches, that, okay, now we're going to behind, inside the rocket fuel, and then jump. It's like they change completely the quality of the image. For example, right now you can see the clouds very flat, and like this was like a post-production thing. Because when you go back here, you can see the volume of the cloud. Remember, this is the parallax. This is a fast forward, okay? But this is, you can see that is moved more slow than the clouds here, because the parallax thing. And then when you go here, everything's moved continuously, almost, and you lose completely the volume of the cloud, the image brightness change completely. Things to consider. But for me, it's just that. It's like a missile with, maybe 10 minutes of fuel until it reach from the ocean. And then
just
switch
as a
cameras.
comparison, what's the difference between how long the sounding rocket reaches 100 kilometers and these guys reach their apex here? These are much slower.
The sounding rockets, this is completely much slower. The sounding rockets supposedly reach, it's almost the same. It took like 2 minutes and a half, 3 minutes to reach the 120 kilometers. So this, for me, is like a mix. It's like a mix between, post-production feed and real feed, if you want to see in that way. And then when you go, for example, to another comparison in terms of the flight trajectory, of course, we all see this from a long distance view. When you can see the arc that it's formed, and it's not, this is not any sense at all if you're going to go to space. Because if you, with just a regular camera, can take the place where the rocket launch and you still seeing where it goes, is because this is not so
still in your line of sight. It's still close enough that you can resolve it.
Exactly. So then you have, for example, a flight path for a plane landing or departing.
Very nice.
So if you start to compare, it's almost the same behavior. Then of course you have, when you start compare with real spacecraft that supposedly go no more than 3,600 kilometers per hour, compared with this big, supposedly fantasy rocket that reach almost 27,000 kilometers per hour. It's insane. Right. And then when you start to compare with this view from the drone, they say that this view is from a satellite.
Right.
Oh, God.
Yeah, officially, this is from a satellite. A geostationary satellite just launch to film these rockets. Come on, man. This is a complete drone, maybe, I don't know, 3,000 kilometers up there, something like that. But here you can see the path, and for me, of course, this is more like a private test flight.
Right.
But the difference with the commercial is like maybe the column of smoke go a little more up before take this.
It has a little more power. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about that shadow? Is that an umbra shadow?
It's so funny. They have to say it's from a satellite, otherwise people will know, wait a second, this thing's just going sideways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the satellite that suddenly they have control over the camera of the satellite. It can show things. You never see that kind of stuff in real life. Yeah, even though they would be able to do this from their blimps, you know it's not a satellite because it's in the atmosphere, obviously. The same happens with the Google Earth photographs, in my opinion.
It's like lower than the clouds.
Yeah, it's like super low, obviously.
Exactly. So that's why I mean, yeah.
I was just going to say, they also tell us that escape velocity from Earth is 25,000 miles per hour, but they never say that the rockets go that fast.
No.
They say they're going 17,000 miles per hour.
Right,
Right.
that's
the orbital.
That's the orbit speed, they say.
Yeah, but Bob had pointed out the other day as well that shouldn't the space station continue to accelerate? What does it do to stop accelerating, right? Because it's falling, free falling supposedly around the Earth, and gravity should be accelerating it. It doesn't have the air to slow it down, supposedly.
Yep. It should be doing warp 13 by now.
Yeah, I think people would be bouncing. Wouldn't they be bouncing all over the inside of the ISS? I mean, there's no way they would just be still as they fell. Right. I mean, they want you to believe. They want you to believe if you dropped in spaceship. I was just say they want you to believe if you dropped in an elevator that you would like hover in the middle of it. That's not at all what would happen. I've seen video of people falling in elevators, and they're like stuck to the bottom, and then all of a sudden they, fly up when they hit the ground. But I mean, they're not just floating in the middle. You can't just drop an elevator and people be floating in the middle and just be able to talk to you on camera and do backflips. It's not the way it works.
Yeah, I've been on the ride at Six Flags that you come into this kind of elevator and you're supposed to hold a coin in your hand and it goes up and then it drops you, a free fall, and the coin goes up. And I did that in there, close to, I guess, where you live, Jaron, Six Flags there, north of Pasadena.
You're seat belted in, right? You're very secure.
Yeah. You're tied on it, but you feel that free fall.
So where's the ride where you just stand in the elevator and it drops you, and then you get to float and do backflips?
I have no idea. That's right. That sounds very dangerous.
Which is essentially what the ISS is supposedly doing. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Right.
Dave Weiss.
I forgot what I was going to say.
What?
It was so long ago.
Like 13 seconds ago.
Oh, no, I got it. So one of the people said before, talking about if it's coming in at 17,000 miles per hour or faster, when it hits the atmosphere, that's when it's officially started braking, how much time does it have before it hits the ground? Did they say like a minute, or what was it?
This person has less than 2 seconds.
How thick is the atmosphere?
I don't know where they would come up with the atmosphere can't be what, I don't know, 60,000 feet, 70,000 feet. If you're talking about the thick part, what would you guys say?
Well, the atmosphere had no effect in that tank that was dropped from the shuttle that we were looking at, that yellow tank that David's showing that was probably filmed from the ground up.
Even though we're supposed to believe that eventually that burned up in the atmosphere and disappeared forever.
Right, and you don't see any of it happening. You don't see it heating up. You don't see anything. So
no, just believe that. And man, it's hard. I'm looking at the picture of the shuttle on the right, and man, if there's anything that looked like a pool toy.
Once you've seen the freaking balloon thing, when you look at this thing, and oh my goodness, it's difficult. And here is a very important, I think, comparison. Then you see something that we know goes that fast,
right?
And look at the difference. The difference is it's like
castle.
And then the easy answer when they ask you, well, how does it go? How do balloons go so fast? You're like, no, it's not going that fast.
Right. It doesn't even look like it's going fast.
You know what? This just also reminds me too, because I had the Blackbird in my one of my videos where I talk about how when it lands, the thing just starts leaking. All the seals on it break after it lands. It's leaking, but you never see the shuttle land and start leaking.
No,
that never happens to the shuttle.
That's real good engineering.
Look at the tower. Look at the rocket booster on the right. The rocket booster on the right, doesn't it look like it's like bending over a little bit, like a bouncy tower?
A little bit.
Yeah.
That's from the Twain.
Do you have a high resolution image you shared last week of the shuttle from the top down, the one that we said looks like a pool toy, where I saw the dent in it.
Yeah. You want to show that?
Could you show that? Could you show the best resolution of the top of that?
It's really interesting, David, to try.
Okay,
David,
man. Okay.
David, it'd be really interesting to try to go back and find those high resolution pictures from the Sting.
But this is
up close and whatnot to see what else you can see.
What the hell is that thing?
But yeah.
Well, that is what my point. I mean, we are going to let's keep real.
I use that to hold my door open.
Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly. Let's keep real. Okay. This is just like a MiG-25, 3,600 kilometers per hour. This is real, Then you have, for example, the Lockheed Martin SR-71, 3,500 for 40 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
Then you have the X-15, and now start compare from 3,000 to only 7,000. You need like a plane without any kind of wind friction into the air. Just like
it's like a rocket, like a missile,
like an arrow. It's a rocket,
missile.
But the one thing about the X-15, I think this is the one that Neil Armstrong supposedly flew, and these speeds from this thing are alleged. They're not confirmed.
Okay. No, it's not confirmed.
I'm just saying because there's a big difference if you look even from the one before to this one, from the one that looks much more technological, because I think the X-15 is older. So what happens is that the X-15 was allegedly going super fast when there's nothing else was able to go even the half of that speed for many, many years to come. So, and when you try to confirm, I try to confirm those speeds because in the First Man film, Neil Armstrong, first he's on one of these things and supposedly he's bouncing off, almost getting off the earth and so on, that he tried to tell you. But when you look, these speeds are not actually confirmed. So even in the Wikipedia, if you look at it. So I'm just saying,
okay.
Just so as just
no, completely agree. I just trying to do as a comparison.
Yeah.
Your point is very good. For me, it's the same. I mean, this kind of speed, it's a little difficult to reach because here you have two super big thrusters. Super small. Really really good design. Plane flight.
It looks like a blade, right? Like it's like a flying knife.
Right.
It's like a knife.
Exactly. And this is like a super tiny rocket motor, in comparison with this, for example. Maybe I am not an engineering, so sorry for my
it looks more advanced at the very least.
But here we have this like an arrow. You can attach a camera here and you're going to have a complete video footage for produce your post-production, feed from SpaceX and blah, blah, blah. And then this is just a prototype. This thing is not even exist and only reach 11,000 kilometers per hour. So how the fuck this thing is going to take 27,000 kilometers per hour.
Fat thing, right? It's not aerodynamic at all.
Man. I mean, what is this? It's like Karen B says, for locking your door. But I mean, this doors locking. Yeah, but this not even exist, and it not has any winds. You cannot put people inside. You don't have nothing. Even they can imagine the thruster technology behind it.
It really makes me wanna, I wanna have something like this, so I can, when I go off to work in restaurants and different places and cafes and whatnot, when the table is a little off and you need to put something under the table to get it straight. That's what
man. I mean, it could be completely. I mean, but you understand my point. I mean,
it's a shim.
Absolutely. It's ridiculous. How can you have something going so fast since the 90s or 80s, whatever the space shuttle started going up, and it's these magical speeds and does all this crazy stuff, when you don't have a single airplane that goes even like it's like 10 times less. The fastest air, almost 10 times less. Right? Doesn't make it's just crazy magic. But and also, of course, we've been pointing it out that when you see the launches, when you compare, for instance, what Chris Hadfield says that he experiences during the launches, when you look at what happens inside the Soyuz launches, nobody's experiencing any pressure at all. They're raising their arms, they're laughing. So it's another big problem that Globers don't go there, because that's quite damning for their narrative.
All right, so here we are. Here's the image. Eero, can you zoom in on that dent? I mean, the space shuttle has to have no flaw. I mean, look at that. That is a dent in a canvas, okay, of a bouncy station.
Bouncy station.
Bouncy station.
So you think this is all painted to look like this, David?
Yeah, it's different canvas and Kevlar and nylon, and it's just strapped together. A balloon of this size isn't made out of thin ripstop nylon. It's made out of a heavier canvas.
What do you think of the connector there on the right, the tube that connects?
No, this is good. No, for me this is real. Eh? I mean, this part. I mean,
I don't see how could this be canvas, because there's fire near it, and it wouldn't hold up.
Wait, hold on a second. That's the other thing. I don't think that's real fire. I think that's smoke and lights. I mean, and some of them. Wait. If you notice, some of them, we know that they're blowing smoke out of the ground, and to obscure everything.
Well, steam,
and then sometimes sometimes the rocket will leave a solid trail of some sort of water vapor or smoke, and sometimes the rocket, when it clears the tower, leaves nothing. All right.
Yeah, that's what I was pointing out. That's so strange how that happens. I think because it should be consistent. But
yeah, so they're doing. There's different tricks. One of them, they're really launching something and it's having a smoke trail. Another time it's CGI. Another time it's just a balloon with a light coming out of the bottom. I mean, they're doing. It's all tricks.
I mean, I think that the only way this shuttle could hold on to the external tank through this little connection, this little V, is if one of these things would be super light somehow.
Yeah,
because
but
little man.
This is not
big.
It's not so tiny like you think.
Right.
I mean,
it's a little bigger than you think.
When you go to, I don't think that they are not afford this kind of, just putting just the what is the name?
Like a
shell, like a shell.
Shell.
Inside of here is nothing. You don't have people inside. You don't have equipment. You don't have nothing.
There's a shell on the airplane. There's maybe something or the same that they roll down the road. They launch a balloon and they land a jet.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And the story here is that all these little plates that it's all full of these things under, it's to sustain the reheating when it comes back into the atmosphere, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a heat shielding.
Heat shielding.
It's ridiculous to those tiles.
One of those was broken, and that's what caused the Columbia.
That's what failed when they came back. And I remember watching that live.
It would fail every time because
why would they? That's a big argument. Why would they fake a failure like that? The fact that some of those landings of the boosters fell over and exploded, that proves that they're real.
Right.
Yeah. And also, of course, traumatizes everybody, and your heroes die, and you have all these celebrations for the country and patriotism.
Right.
And
that's why Apollo 11 was great for TV. Apollo 12 was not great, so they had to come back with Apollo 13 and say, okay, we have to have something happen. And then we have the great minds at NASA who engineer an answer while this craft is ready to die, and then they're able to engineer the answer and send up some duct tape and or tell them, hey, use this duct tape and use this rubber band, and they're able to fix it and they're able to get back in the world.
It's ingenuity, amazing ingenuity.
Right. If it wasn't for the great minds at NASA, those people would have died in space.
It's drama.
So but when you start looking into this kind of test, that they may blow away to see the pressure that it can, they can support
the cylinder,
whatever. Yeah, the cylinder. I mean, this is not much different than the ballistic missile. It's a little more big, I mean, but it's not a complete different technology. It's like aluminum.
It's the Werner von Braun.
Nothing like that.
It's the Werner von Braun legacy. It's the legacy of Werner von Braun, the mass murderer Nazi who people think it's a nice person because Disney said so.
Of course.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just metal, tinfoil metal in terms of they trying to make the more lighter as they can. To don't carry so much weight, And it's not different than, this is completely old technology,
Yeah, it's a grain silo, man. It's like
in 60 years, your compared to your cell phone, I don't know, man. I mean, comparing in other terms, the automobile
Right.
and the rocket technology, it doesn't evolve at all. You still burn fuel, use heavy parts, and and the rest of the technology that surround us get so much improved. But we still, use like a missile to reach the sky.
And of course, there's a whole other side of it being a totemic symbol, like this tall thing and round, and of course phallic as well. People point out, and it goes up in the sky, and it's something that people coalesce together to essentially worship. And that's one of the. It's kind of obelisk, right? It's a flying obelisk on that symbolic level.
So, jumping back a little bit, I was telling you I was trolling with JQ, this guy. I put a link in the chat, Jaron, and I just noticed the name of his channel. He's like a younger Scott Manley. Is that rocket guy? Is that Scott Manley? Did I have the name right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like a younger total fanboy. But I just saw the name of his channel is Overlook Horizon Space Balloons.
Nice, man.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like they catch themselves by themselves. You just let them do their thing and they just fall by themselves. It seems to be the case.
What are you showing here, Israel?
Well, the old style, they test this new SLS rocket with air pressure, I believe, because when it explode, it's not anything inside. It's not any kind of liquid, nothing like that. And you're going to put fuel inside, supposedly some kind of liquid.
Right.
And then this is an old test made on January, sorry. Different size, complete different thing, but they put water inside and they trying to test, which is something logical, because after all, you don't need to get back into the 70s, 80s, and 60s when all the rockets start exploding in the air and having a lot of problems inside there. And they do these things because for me, all the technicians or all the technical part behind these fake space technologies are real. The only part that is not real is that they reach 80 kilometers up there,
Right.
But they need to do something real.
Absolutely. It can't be 100%
absolutely.
fake.
You
So
are not
there's a
going
lot
to
of
take those risks,
No, and you have to have.
They have all the money they want to test as much as they can. They just won't be able to burst through the firmament or whatever's
there.
limit.
You have to have workers doing things. You have to have them inventing new things and coming up with new technology and trying to fix things. I mean, they have to do that. They can't just have workers that don't do anything.
One thing I've always found kind of fascinating with this SpaceX and some of the stuff that's happening when you look at politics, because people are so keen on going against fossil fuels and burning of carbon and whatnot. And these guys, they get a free pass on this. Nobody ever points out how much fuel these guys are burning all the time for nothing. But
hey, guys, I want to bring up one more point, then I got to run. So did you hear when I was on with Anthony Cumia, and I asked about why don't they test why don't the astronauts' spacesuits explode when they go into the vacuum of space? And you heard his answer? His answer was, there's only one atmosphere, right, of pressure in the suit. So here's a question. Maybe, I think, Bob, you can answer this for me. If you had a water bottle, like a plastic water bottle, and you just had it opened, the ground level, there's one atmosphere of pressure in there, right?
Right.
Okay. So now I'm going to squeeze it halfway squeezed. I'm going to put the top on it tight, and then I let go, and it's going to expand back to its fuller size. So now there's less than one atmosphere in there, correct?
Yeah, I mean, assuming it actually does expand out back to its normal size, but
it's a rigid water bottle, and it expands that back out to its normal size.
Right. So
now there's less than one atmosphere. Guaranteed, you put that thing in a vacuum, it's going to explode. Would you agree?
Well, depending on how intense the vacuum would be, yes.
Yeah, I would say it would explode long before it becomes a total vacuum. So anyone that has a vacuum chamber, I'd love to test that. Someone's got to help.
There's some of those. There's some demonstrations that at least I've seen with some dolls that people put in a homemade sort of vacuum chamber.
I use that in one of my videos.
Yeah,
but I'm saying
explode quickly. Yeah.
So this will debunk there's only one atmosphere of pressure in that spacesuit, so it wouldn't explode. Well, let's show something with a half an atmosphere of pressure, or less, just a little bit, and then put it in a vacuum chamber, and it would explode, no doubt, before the thing's half evacuated.
I don't know if you've seen when they tried to pressurize the suits back in the 60s or 50s. I think Ito has some of that footage that they look all inflated and then people can move really oddly. And then I saw in the UAP channel recently, he showed the footage and the interview of the guy who was in the vacuum chamber wearing a spacesuit and passed out. You can see him fall like a...
His tongue started to boil.
Yeah, it's
that guy almost died.
Right.
Yeah.
Close.
And look how different they have the calibration in terms of the color with the normal camera, where you can see the bluish tint in the water and all the surroundings.
Oh, very interesting.
But now there you can see how, if you put this into black, because you just use a black background, you're going to have like a real color with this setup in the camera. Right? For example, I just saying, okay?
I'll allow it.
Okay. Look like sunlight, right?
Hey, I gotta answer my door real quick. Hiro, keep sharing, okay?
Sorry, do you guys think that the filming of the stuff that goes from the spacewalks happens in these training pools or in a special pool somewhere else? Probably somewhere else, right?
No, I think they're happening right in these training pools. They've got, literally, you saw the video of the guy that said, wow, it's just like being in an underwater movie studio. And it is. That's why they have the water so
it's
clear.
totally happening in the pool.
I agree.
I remember watching
screens, right?
Okay. Remember when back when they first started putting out all those extra cable channels, and then NASA had their 24/7 channel, and they used to live stream the spacewalks and stuff when they first started doing all that stuff back like early 2000s, right? Okay, well, I used to watch all that stuff because, I would,
nerd.
Right, totally. I would sit there and I'd watch these boring spacewalks, and I was watching it one time with my friend, and they were doing a spacewalk.
Your friend, yes, your friend. Okay.
Yeah, my boyfriend at the time, but there was I was seeing bubbles floating off of them, and I was like, "What is that?" I asked him, "What is that?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "What is that?"
It's a UFO.
UFO,
right? And I was like, why are there bubbles? What are they doing? Are they dumping? And he's like, maybe they're dumping water. I'm like, why would they be dumping water off the space station in space? I'm like, don't they need all that stuff? It's not like they have extra, like what are they doing?
Yeah. Why is it going off into space, right?
Yeah, exactly. And at the time, I just kind of forgot about it. But then later on, when all this stuff came about and flat Earth and fake space, I was like, oh my God.
Makes sense. Perfect sense.
They were underwater.
Yeah.
And then I tried to go back on NASA's website. Like I tried to go back in their archives of these spacewalks, of these missions, right, around that time frame to see if I could find the video.
What else I could find?
Right? I was trying to find the video of with the bubbles in it, and they don't have it. They don't. It's not up there. You can't find it, and it's all super low res, like low quality, very short. And none of that stuff is available or readily available to find now, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, we are in 2019, and for example, SpaceX, they cannot even put like a drone filming how the booster land on the ocean.
Right.
The only way that they can show that
last moment.
Exactly. The only way that they can provide image, video live from that particular scenario is with a camera inside of the own space, in the own bark. I mean, it's ridiculous.
They say they lose connection because the barge is in the sea or something.
But take another boat like 10 kilometers away with a big lens camera and film it. I mean, why you cannot even approach another boat to film? Right. We have so much technology to do that. That
Yeah,
it's
it's
ridiculous
ridiculous.
that we are still believing that, oh, it's coming. Oh, the signal, we lost the signal. Oh, it's back. Oh, it's a perfectly.
Yeah, and people cheering, all happy.
What? Exactly.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, they get the signal from the ship sending the production video, but then when it lands, then it breaks off. When it's going around the Earth, okay, they still get it somehow.
Put another
None of it
boat.
makes any
You
sense.
have the ability to go there with a helicopter, with a plane, with a drone, with another boat, whatever. You can do that. You have the money to do that. It's very cheap. So why you don't show that from another?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing, Eater, that I think a lot of people, makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. They'll be like, why is it not like more like Formula One, or like I was saying before, if it's NASA, and and like we were seeing now the launch, they just showed the people in the office doing nothing, and people are noticing this. People they want to see the action. They supposedly tell you it's a day that's going to change history forever. They did in this launch today. But what you see is just people sitting around the table, and over time, I think people are gonna have to be waking up. This is impossible. I think that's why they need to repeat themselves so much, is that if they don't repeat themselves, people actually wake up on their own. I think, because it's too obvious at the end. You have to be constantly reminded or constantly hypnotized to stay on it. It's too dumb to believe at the end. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want in terms of the money that you have, but they don't. In those special cases where it will be really nice to have live feed from space, from a rocket reach the ocean boat, in the case of the SpaceX, and so many other things, and they still I'll provide us video as we are in the 1920s,
Right.
So it doesn't have any sense, I mean.
Hey, did you guys talk about? Did you guys talk about the Charles Bolden alien invasion thing yet?
I think
that was kind of an Onion piece.
Yeah, that's Onion. That's
Onion.
Was it? I mean, because I actually, I sent that to Mark Sargent, and he goes, are you able to find this anywhere else? So I searched for a few of the key terms in there, and it was actually in several different places. So
I think it's satirical. I mean, that site, I've found some stuff on that site before, and that site's always satirical. I think it even says at the bottom of the site that it was satirical.
That particular one is definitely a satirical one, but it doesn't, doesn't mean that Bolden hasn't said anything, because he has said
lots of things,
dumber things. He has, for instance, if you look at the launch of the film The Martian, and his whole presentation of that film, he's almost crying because of how perfect it is, the film, how exactly it is the way that they're going to go to Mars, how accurate it is. So, and that for me is just so silly.
You need to start worrying, guys, in the United States, because Russia wants to place telescope on the moon to protect the Earth from possible dangerous asteroids.
Yeah, asteroids. That's their number one reason to continue with the space program is asteroids.
Yes. But now Russia going there. It's going there. They are going to put telescope, And when you see this video, and well, this is a NASA fan boy, but here they show some behind the scenes, and I showed this the last Friday. I mean, why they start using robotic arms from Hollywood movies, and put this asteroid with only one light source, right, and start making this kind of image, with all this, they put tiny satellite there. They put this tiny asteroid simulation. We control movement equipment to repeat how many they want, the same movement. So they are provide this CGI, of course. Everyone see this. But then when they want to go real, they use real things in black backgrounds with robotic arms, with this special behavior. So that is what they are
Star
doing
Wars
from the 60s,
production technique. It's Kubrick, it's just filmmaking stuff.
I mean, if I show you this, All right, and I go here and type like a JAXA asteroid, asteroid, right? And you are looking into, supposedly this is a real picture from the JAXA Japanese space probe taking a picture from an asteroid. So compare this to this. What is the difference?
Oh, it's the same.
It's the same thing.
Identical.
Yeah. I made fake asteroids a long time ago because remember that peanut asteroid, and I did that video for Asteroid Day, and I made
the potato fetus one.
Yeah.
Different. Yeah.
But they had this peanut asteroid. So I went and I got a bunch of different nuts and I took pictures of them. And in Photoshop, I was able to make fake nut asteroids like cashew nut, hazelnut. And it looked just like the one that they made. It looked the same. And I even fooled some other flat earthers with it. I was like, hey, look at these asteroids I found. And they were like, oh my God, they're trolling us. And I was like, no, I made those.
Well,
like,
they make fun of isn't that Planet Cappuccino? I think is one film that they make fun of, like Jupiter, how it looks like. You can take a photo of a drink like that and put in with a star field in the back, and it will look like a planet.
Man, look at these.
Wow.
Look this space thruster getting back into the reels.
Here comes the docking, and oh boy.
Here comes the dock. Whatever you want.
That.
What is this from? Ido, what is that?
This is in Spanish, and it's like the title is like that is how you control the space. This is the
Space
title.
from space, right?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And they show a few techniques to provide images and videos to use real data to provide to this came from ESA to feed the news,
Right.
to feed the news that you see in it's complete production, and that is why at least in my opinion I am so worried, because as visual effects technical director, we know that it's not going to be it's going to be really near the moment that you are not going to able to detect CGI from reality anymore.
No.
We're already there, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we are really there. Exactly, we are really
Yeah,
there.
if it wasn't for glitches, they'd be using it all the time. But there's still the problem of glitches at the wrong time for them.
Robin
Exactly.
from Lift and
this.
Lid on his Good Friday show today played the original Matt Powerland photo or painting that he did in front of a live audience. And just the power of that, painting, the audience could not tell the difference between a photo and a painting.
Yeah.
It was so good to see that again.
Yeah, I love to
for
see
example,
photorealistic painters.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
I was going to say exactly the same point as Bob, because that we've seen this for a long time. Even with the Camera Obscura back in here in Holland, that they started doing using this machine to help them recreate things realistically.
Yeah. For example, right here you have this control movement, and you have the camera filming as like be in the satellite proof or some kind of space proof. And then you have the rotational asteroid, and then they transfer all this. And right now, if I take off all the word mile simulation, if I take all this off and I just leave like a black background, and it's instead of seeing simulated image, it's a real image from Shakusa space probe.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going able to determine that is.
It's just
and Glover's
it's just
also saying that
rendered
it's
with a
real.
better engine for rendering, right? The post-production kind of thing.
No,
way
yeah,
to finish it.
but we are still in the limit. But if you can do it from real, do it from real.
Right.
You
Because it
know,
looks more
and-
realistic. So this is a
exactly,
blend.
and-
This is a mix of real and fake.
No, this is complete. No, this is complete real in terms of object.
Real fake.
Right.
This is
but-
real fake. Exactly. This is real. This thing here came
Yeah.
from this shot.
Right.
This.
Right.
This is
Yeah, that's
converted
a-
into this.
That's a genuine imitation of an artificial image.
There you go.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it
Double
is.
fakery, triple,
Double,
triple.
yeah.
Who knows?
And you can.
Yeah.
The nice thing is that this special equipment that was built from the car industry and all these things that you need to repeat exactly the same movement.
Right.
A few decades ago, they transferred that to Hollywood because you need to do, for example, for composite real things, you need to repeat the same exact movement with different objects and then put all together and simulate the same behavior on the camera.
That you mean before CGI came along, right? So you have to do
but even in our days they use these techniques because if you can do in real, do it real. Right. You know, so it is much better to create, you know, real things. So now
it's like the same as when you watch the films, the horror films from the 1980s. You know, something that things are actual props they're made by people. That it looks better. It looks way better than CGI, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So they use this to put cars on it, and then you have the Tesla rover in space. Look the movement. You know, it's completely like simulating supposedly 0G, you know, environment.
So when you see this, you think of how easy it would be to do the Tesla in space. It's just ridiculous.
That's super easy to do.
And that one, Jaron, a friend of mine who's a photographer who I work with, and didn't have a stake on the ball or anything, or that wasn't, you know, just normal person. He looked at it within 2 seconds. He's like, oh, no, the light. Has to be fake because the light here and there. He saw the way the light was hitting the subject in the Tesla car, and he realized with a couple of camera changes that the lights couldn't possibly be real.
The people that believe that the Tesla was in space, if you ask them, did they see any video of it? Their answer is no.
Right.
I mean, there were so many people. I was traveling when it happened. And I was out at a bar having some dinner, and I heard this whole table. These guys are talking about it, but there were like 10 people, and they were saying how cool it was. I finally just turned around. I said, "Did any of you watch it?" And not a single one of them watched it.
Right.
People who did knew what was up because I had a buddy that, you know, wasn't too into flat Earth at the time, and just kind of I didn't talk to him about it anymore. And then all of a sudden he sent me a text with a picture of the thing in space. He says, "Tell me this is not supposed to be real." I'm like, "No, that is supposed to be real." He's like, "Oh my God, it's so clearly fake." You don't still need to be a flat earther. You don't even need to be a globe skeptic to realize that that's horseshit.
Right. The same happened this year with the moon missions being blasted, especially some of my friends in the UK came to me out of nowhere. I doubt me even saying anything, not talking about flat earth. Obviously, they know the kind of content I'm creating. And they just came out to me and said, yeah, they forced us to watch the landing on the moon. And I couldn't possibly take that seriously after a while. Because they tried to push the propaganda and people, it hasn't aged well. Yep.
Iru, are you doing this in real time?
Yes, I just playing a little bit because
I don't even know how you use that tool, whatever tool you were using to erase the thing up in the upper right-hand corner where you just scrubbed it out. I don't even know how to do that.
The healing tool.
The healing tool. Yeah. The healing tool, exactly. But I mean, you know, because I was
it's called the NASA tool.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, there you have Mars, you know, with the rover there, you know. I mean, come on, guys. When you see this and you see the perfect matches between the environment on Earth and in Mars, I mean, the same kind of rock, the same kind of texture, the same kind of soil, everything is the fucking same thing.
Right.
What's going on, you know?
One thing I was going to mention, you guys, going back a little bit to other things that might be fake that we were talking about. Eratosthenes, right? Eratosthenes?
Yep.
Yes.
And I just started looking back at some information, right? And what I found here in a book from 2014, it's called Solar System Maps from Antiquity to the Space Age. So it covers a lot of different mapping and different models, even flat geocentric models. But it has a whole all it has on Eratosthenes is very, very odd because it says Eratosthenes was born around 276 in Cyrene. He studied in Alexandria, Egypt, acquired a name for himself, they claim, as a scientist, mathematician, geographer, historian, poet, philosopher. He wrote treatises in many of these areas, not mentioned. Very odd. Although never the best of any field, like he was nicknamed Beta
Right, they called
because
him
he was
beta
secondly
'cause he
good.
was second best at everything they said.
Second best, they say. Consequently, he was summoned to become the head librarian. He died in 195. He devised an ingenious method of finding the circumference of the Earth. La 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 la. And they talk in cyanide. They give you that story, but they don't give you a source. Either the writer is a bad writer, and other places it gives you a source. There's no source to this.
Well, that's just
It's just
it just goes around and keeps being added to book after book after book, and all of a sudden it becomes fact.
Mm-hmm. Well, there seems to be some sort of oral history. Another thing that exists is someone who they call pseudo Eratosthenes.
Yeah, there's pseudo Aristophanes, right? There's a lot of texts that are attributed to him that now they go back and say, oh no, the writing's different. They're able to determine it's not him.
They claim it's not him, and it's a compilation of myths about the stars. And then he comes up for me in another discussion about there's nothing to do with the measuring of the Earth itself. So far, I couldn't find, and I'll continue to look, but I couldn't find the actual source. What is the ancient manuscript where Eratosthenes is saying this? What are the references from other authors? Because usually that's how you confirm.
Nothing is survived from Aristophanes. Nothing, zero.
Apparently. That's incredible that something like this whole story survives in such an impeccable form when you don't have the manuscript to show for it.
Right. Well, it hasn't even survived in impeccable form because if you think about it, there's not even a determination. First of all, you hear sticks and shadows. Then you hear, oh, no, it's actually a well, right? You could see a shadow down a well.
Right.
And then
That's right.
And then you've got the 500 miles, which, again, how was anybody determining that distance at the time? I mean, think how long it would have taken somebody to travel 500 miles. How would you talk to that person 500 miles away? Right. Then you've got the
how you synchronize the observation as well.
And they can't even determine what he meant by his measurements. Have you ever seen that?
Right.
Where he's, his whole measurements were ambiguous. I mean, they're kind of, you don't know what he's talking about. Now they're able to now say, oh, we think he was talking about this stadia, which equals this amount. And when you do that, it comes out to he was only 2% wrong. But that's just all guesswork. They don't know. His books aren't even here. There's no book from Aristophanes that you can find. Now, of course, you can find things after that have been supposedly written or copied. But again, how easy is that to change anything you want when you're talking about, I mean, just think if Iro wrote a book today and then we change it and we rewrite it tomorrow and we rewrite it the next day and the next year and everything. I mean, how could you ever say what Iro actually said in his book if it doesn't survive? Just because I copied it, I could change it to whatever I want.
Of course. Yeah. The way they try to do some of that, because Pythagoras is a completely reconstructed character. He never wrote anything that survives. We don't have a book. All you have is, but in that case, you have so many people talking about him, they can kind of reconstruct the story, but still, scholars recognize that it's very problematic because all the writers come hundreds of years later and they don't agree with what they're saying. So,
and then there was they like to say that there was this ancient tradition or practice of attributing things to people just to give them more glory in their name, right? So
also could be.
Right.
Also can happen. But another thing that I found was curious is that Eratosthenes appears, and in this book here, as likely having used an armillary sphere in the 3rd century BC to determine the angle between the ecliptic and the celestial equator. So that they're pointing out that there's this armillary sphere, but the armillary sphere can be geocentric, and it is a sphere that looks at the positions of stars. So it is essentially an astrolabe that is circular, or a spherical astrolabe.
Right, which is using the whole idea of the spherical canopy or whatever you want to call it of stars.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's different than saying it's a ball again. So it's another curious kind of thing. It's something that's spherical, but it's trying to model the sky. It's not trying to model the Earth.
No.
And what I'm showing here in the background, and thanks for the guy in the super chat called MightMat28. He pointed out okay, you are saying for example the North Korea missile program debunks NASA in the in a poetry way. And yes, I mean it's not that it's debunked, but when you start to compare these missile programs, and this is not for reaching space, but it behaves almost identical.
The same.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, you have the same kind
it
of.
went to space, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have all
you're
these,
talking about the super chat from Mighty Matt 28, who said, "Would you say that the North Korean Hwasong 15 launch debunks NASA's excuse for their rockets going horizontal? Supposedly, it went straight up 2,500 miles, 10 times higher than the ISS. A good example. fake space.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, and this is the rocket that he pointed out, which is the Hawthorne 15.
And
But
supposedly this
when-
goes 2,500 miles straight up. Is that?
I don't know, because they never show that. I mean, but if you just look into how is start the rocket, the behavior, the fire, it's this is like you are not going to say that this is not a space rocket, I mean, but it's a missile program. It's a missile.
Right.
It's a missile. It's not for reaching our satellite of communication and destroy our spacecraft,
One thing I'd like to point out, I'm not sure you notice, is it exactly here where we see here. Oh, okay. So that's what I just wanted to make sure that missiles can be free launch like this, because usually I thought that they had to be inside some sort of a chamber, like in a barrel, like in a like in a cannon. So they because you see that from some of these underground rockets. So just to make sure that it's possible. But what is
That's interesting
different?
what you're saying.
At
I
least
never thought about that. You're
sorry?
saying like how a gun has a barrel and has to be shot out from the barrel. You're saying how is it
to
that we're
keep
shooting these rockets free for all, basically
free,
because the exhaust comes out and goes in every direction.
Exactly. So how is it that they keep the going straight? Because I thought, that at least some of the missiles that they show that the military has, they come from within the barrel that I guess it's for direction. But I'm not so sure. I mean, the difference here, the Korean rocket, from what we see from SpaceX, is that at least the smoke seems to be simultaneous with the burning of the engine. And you have quite an explosion here. I just want to understand the pressure. How is it that doing this pressure under, the thing goes straight up in the sky? But maybe it's just my physics.
No, I am not. I am not capable to answer that. But I mean, to respond that. But I mean, when you my point here is that they are still using technology that refer to a missile. It's like a little more big. Missile, the space. I mean, the space shuttle and things like that. I mean, they don't not use some kind of super technology behind the space program. It's all came from military industry, and
but Werner von Braun, right? The A5.
Exactly. And then
the sounding hot rockets, they do have a little thing that holds them right before it. They're not freestanding like that. They have an actual thing that holds them in a position. Or am I wrong? And they sometimes they're a little bit inclined. Well, whatever. I'll check it
recall
out.
seeing that, like they have even like the smaller rockets, like the Go Fast rocket and stuff. It has like a pole,
exactly,
or something that it launches from.
Right. That's what I was wondering. But yeah,
and some new character to bring into the table. If I ask you who measured the meridian, who was it? For example, to determine the meridian line in the globe.
Well, it was changed, wasn't it?
Yeah, but who was the first guy?
Oh, good. I don't know.
How do you measure that?
Well, for the history, a guy who belonged to the Crocs of Malta called George Juan, and Juan in English is like say John, but this is the surname. The name was George. It's like say George John, So this guy, which was a military guy and also an astronomic and an astrophysicist, not astrophysicist, like something like that. If you go to the biography and read, he belonged to all the guys behind the behind the globe. They are all came from royalties, Jesuit order, Malta Crocs, and for the Order of Knight of Malta. So the guy who measure,
that's like Templar kind of
primary
thing. Malta's Templars, right? Kind of connected to them, or that's basically Masons.
Yeah, no, you have both. I mean, there you have it. So there is not even one single guy which not belong to this Jesuit order.
The societies,
So when the people say, who are behind. One of the biggest questions that you can make from yourself is who was the architect from the heliocentric model.
It's kind of funny what they say here. He measured the length of the Earth's meridian by showing that the Earth is flattened at the poles in 1700s. Sure, yeah, of course he did. Yeah.
Mathematics are fantastic, aren't they?
It's amazing. The Order of Malta,
Right.
Come on, guys. It's a religion. It's not the science.
So he by himself, he went and measured and proved that the Earth is flattened at the poles. In 1700s.
Well before anybody had been to either one, of course.
Yeah, hey, where he studied? In the school of the Society of Jesus. So there you get it. Another Jesuit behind the globe.
SJ.
They try to hide it, but they can't.
So when you go to artistic pictures, here you have George Joan, the guy behind the meridian measurement, another Jesuit camouflage as a military, there you have it.
Never trust a man with two first names.
No.
And then they say the transcendence, the scientific transcendence. Of course, he was able to be in many places at the same time with his religious connections and his scientific mind. He was amazing that he was measured to prove it's flattened, the poles, without going there.
And
so it is transcendental.
By 1/300th, I believe is what they even say. It's right. The flattening is 1/300th.
Oh, he found even the ratio of the flattening.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
No, that's But this, for me, is really funny. When you start going into the history, that is amazing because, some guys pay $20 for I'm saying Jesuit. Man, I can
JQ.
say all day Jesuit if you want,
JQ, you should call. Yeah, JQ says, Iru, please say Jesuit again. My wife says, hello to Linda. Hi to Linda.
Hi to Linda.
But yeah, Iru can say Jesuit all day.
Jesuit. I become weak.
If you want to see it in that way.
If you want to see in that way, this situation.
that's my favorite one. No,
I know.
I love that one, though. It makes me want to say it all the time. If you want to see it in that way.
Okay, because for me it's like a relief. I mean, it's like my brain starts, crunch.
Right.
So how I get out from this situation is like, if you see it that way.
Right.
Have you tried to? I know you've done a lot on this regard, but have you tried to put a list of these characters that connected to the different orders and because it would be nice to have kind of like a diagram that some people sometimes put together on Photoshop and whatnot, where you have the different characters.
Yes,
and the
I have
orders.
That'd be great.
You done that?
Yes, I done that with my friend who is a physicist here from Argentina, with Daniel Marquez. You know him, Rodrigo, and he's going to present all these characters behind the globe in Madrid. So, of course, you are invited there. Maybe we can, I know you are going to be father, so maybe it's a little difficult times to you to go there.
No, but I'd love to see of course, I'd love to see it. It would be difficult for me to go, of course, because my dad's going to be, it's another question, but yeah, they'll be fascinated because that needs to be done so that we can get that out there. And I think especially a diagram like this, because it's very informative for others to then go and look into the information, and we start sharing this.
Yes, and I have everything that I have in Spanish, so will be really nice if you can translate it and do your best.
Also, I think you missed my comment earlier on, and I mentioned the documentary that you sent to me, the one that's in Spanish, and that's covering flat. Were you involved with that?
The crop cycles and the flat Earth?
No, not the crop circles. The one that you just sent me, the recent one, which I don't know, send me today.
Yeah, the guy from Mexico. I have his contact. He's a really nice guy. He are helping Dr. Zach.
That was a great. That's a great. Yeah, this one. That's great, and it's got a lot of views.
Yeah, because this guy, he started. For everyone out there, this is a Spanish guy. He lives in Mexico. he became a flat earther. He just like a journalist or some kind of that thing, and he started making a flat earth video, and he has a really nice voice like Karen B, and but in masculine
Hopefully
way.
it's male. Okay, good.
Okay. And he started making a lot of, these typical videos from YouTube, 15-minute, not like our shows from 3 hours, things like that. But he are taking information of the long videos and put it all together and make it, short video for the people that lives very hurry, very
Good.
Quickly.
We need that.
And yes, and the last 3 or 4 videos that he made was based on the experiment of Dr. Sack, and he are helping to translate FA core information and things like that, and putting all together very, very in very nice way, and with a nice voice, and
I thought that it was the one that you sent me was the one that has 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah,
and I sent it to a bunch of people because I thought, especially some Brazilian people, because I thought it was easy to follow. It was very clear. It was accurate, and I thought Ido has something to do with this because of some of the information, some of the images.
Yes, exactly. No, and he is a friend of us. I mean, he started doing the thing and start to make contact with all the Spanish researchers, and I have it here in WhatsApp. And in fact, he is invited to Madrid. Maybe he need to flew from Mexico to Madrid, and maybe it's going to be a little expensive, but it will be really nice to meet in person and maybe give some kind of a speech on the conference. But he's a very
He's covering a
very
lot
good
of ground
person.
on that documentary, right? He's covering a lot of ground.
Yes.
He's going in a very organized fashion through the information. It's a great piece.
Wow.
I thought it was going to be against flat Earth actually in the beginning, but I was like, no, okay, this guy knows what he's saying.
No.
It's obviously evolved, and I just want to see the whole 2 hours and 40 minutes because he's covered some things that I have. It was really good to review. Especially the stuff, the shadows on the moon part, I thought it was quite interesting.
It's also this one. This one, it's really no problem for the heliocentric model, which is the three-body equation, three-body. How is the technical name?
Problems, I guess they call it.
The three-body problem.
Is that what it is? Is that problem they call it?
Three-body problem?
Yeah, three-body problem, yeah. But he made, let me just, if I can find it, because he made like a really short video. It's in Spanish, but that will be really nice if someone can translate into English, because he used really good images, really good videos from official sources. In fact, there is, I didn't even know that it is like a super big computer in Japan trying to solve that. And they put like hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars to trying to solve that, and the computer is not even capable to do that, showing that we live in some kind of super equilibrium mystical universe that if you just make one breathe not breathe, I mean soplar, blow, blow, some kind of breath beside another planet, the complete universe will be destroyed.
Right.
Something like, I don't know if you understand my analogy.
How many views? How many views do some of those videos have? Because I'm kind of, it's hard for me to see.
Millions.
Thousands.
Yeah, he reached
That
200,000.
225 million.
No, that's
Wow.
thousand. That's thousand. It's they call
there's
thousand.
subscribers. There's 27,000
yeah,
subscribers.
75,000.
Oh, right, because it's in
No,
Spanish.
but he has like he has like for and I believe he speaks English. So
there's one there to 600,000, 1.8 million, 2.2, to all kinds.
One 1.3
That's a lot of views, though.
A lot of views.
Yeah,
views.
and he started his channel like 6, or at least he started talking about the flat Earth like 6 months, 8 months ago. Because these videos are for 2 years old, right? But he's speaking about techniques for leave the stress behind. Nothing else, nothing to do with flat Earth. So he started talking about flat Earth like here 9 months ago. 1.8 million, 300,000 views, 8 point wide. Well, this is a short one, but
that
I mean,
really is 1.8 million.
Yeah, he has views in terms of millions of. He had a lot.
But where it says MIL, that's 1,000, right? So if it says 201, MIL is 201,000. That's still a ton of views he's getting.
Yes, yes, and because he's from Mexico, I believe he speaks English. So maybe someday we can invite it and talk a little bit.
He's even talking Tartaria there.
Yeah, Enoch. He's not a religious person, but he bring that topic into the into his channel. But he has a really good ones, short topic with really nice video backgrounds.
He's a professional. Yes, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, with Foucault, Coriolis, and I downloaded every one of his video because for me it's really nice to have this kind of compilation videos.
Yeah,
for
it'd be
use.
great if we could, if it was in English, it'd be fantastic.
That will be fantastic, yeah, of course. And I try to reach, but I believe if I go here, here is the technical paper for simulation of planetary body in the universe. And he showed all this, trying, this desperate way to just calculate how gravity behaves only with three bodies. I mean, three bodies only. We are not talking about even the Saturn put into equation or Jupiter. No, just
the
three
moons
bodies.
or the moons of Saturn. No, of course not.
Yeah, nothing.
Although
Just
remember
Sun,
Bob?
Earth,
Bob? Do you remember when Red's Rhetoric said he could do the 86 body moon problem of Saturn?
Yes,
I'll do it right now.
It's like, yeah, I could do it in my head. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And right after I was saying that it would take a fleet of supercomputers to even, put a dent in it.
And here's a supercomputer that can't do three.
That's so funny. How can they not do that? This is like you think the way they present the information, you think they solved everything, and then they're like, "Well, we cannot do a three-body problem." It's like, okay, so how can you explain the sun and the moon and the Earth?
We can't.
The hell, it's weird.
Let alone the whole solar system, right?
Right. Or a stupid problem like Jupiter's millions of moons or however many it has, and I'm sure they say there's ones that haven't been discovered. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to get to, Bob, is that post that you made. Or that you put in the Globebusters chat that talked about the missing stars.
Oh yeah, that was pretty
crazy.
Funny, wasn't it?
Yeah, missing stars.
Missing stars. We know. I mean, sometimes we hear. I mean,
what about the star that's older than the universe?
Right? No, they say that we can bring it up after Ero's done sharing.
Stars disappeared.
Yeah, they said that there's like 100.
I stopped sharing.
No, not if you still have something to show. I'm just saying we can show it after. But Bob put it in there where they did some test with the star catalog from 1950 and then checked it now, and there's 100 stars missing.
Oh yeah, I have seen that that news. Yes.
Have you seen that one where they talk about Methuselah, which is the star they say is older than the universe? They say it's like 200 billion years older than the universe.
Yes.
I've never heard of that. Because they say that quasars are the oldest things, and these are only 14 billion supposed light years away.
No, it was like 300 or 400 million years older, because it was like, well, this is 14.9 billion years old and the universe is only 14.7 or whatever. But it's like, really? So how is it that this thing is older than the universe itself? I couldn't believe that.
Yeah,
look at that
video.
Look at
they keep changing the age of the universe. They're like, well, it's 14.5, well, it's 13.7 billion, or no, now it's 12.4 billion years old, and they still think the star's older, and
they don't have a clue.
But that kind of thing pisses off a lot of people that I know who are globers, just standard people that that never look at the flat Earth. But when they look at the news and then they see the astronomers are spending all this money to come up with a different date or something, and they look at it and they say, what difference does it make?
None.
It kind of pisses them off. A lot of people have that reaction, and it has nothing to do with the flat Earth, but they understand there's something really odd going on here, where people are coming out and proclaiming a difference between 14 point whatever billion, and that being significant when it actually makes no difference, and somehow they're making money to do this, and people are starving at the same time. There's all these things don't fit.
Think about what they've convinced. They've convinced the world that by looking into the sky, you can see back in time.
Yes.
And people believe it, and they love it, and there's whole sciences developed around it, designed around it.
That's right.
Thousands and thousands of people are working on problems right now, considering that they're looking back in time when looking in the sky.
That's right. Where do you think they got the saying, "A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away"?
Right. Oh, Iru brought it up. Thank you, Iru.
No, man.
This is
why you pay me, man.
This is why you get all the money. Speaking of that, I saw Karen B as my #1 DLive contributor. So now, she's giving me so many lemons. She owns me now. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'm her #1 contributor, so I own her.
Right. See,
I have like one
evolution
follower
chain.
On DLive. I have like one follower on DLive and my Twitch channel. It worked really well with the restream, by the way.
Wait, you said you have one follower?
Sure. Yeah, I have one follower on DLive.
That's me. That's me then. I went.
No, I follow you on DLive too. I followed you.
Yeah, I followed you. Remember, I had to show somebody else how to get there the other day in your Rodrigo chat.
Right.
Whatever that's called. I forgot the name of it. But we did get a super chat from Zaylor Raiden who says, hope you guys chill with your families and take a break. Yeah, that's the plan, I think, for everybody. And Christmas coming up, and I know that's why there's going to be no Globebusters, so just let everybody know. No Globebusters this Sunday. I've got some stuff going on with family. So I don't know about everybody else, but yeah, we're going to be celebrating. And the other thing we should say real quick, just as a thank you to that Maria who sent us all, well, I say all of us, but it doesn't include Karen. Karen, sorry about that. Maria sent all of us some Christmas gifts. So thank you, Maria. She sent one to Rodrigo. Hopefully you got it by now. And
actually, he doesn't yet because I don't know his PayPal address, but you can give me that on the side, Rodrigo.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine.
Okay.
No worries. I'll get it to him as soon as I know what it is.
Good. You got $20 coming to you shortly.
Yep. Cool.
So thank you, Maria. Anyway, back to this. Yeah. So supposedly, I mean, how is this even possible? That it says 100 stars in the sky that appear and disappear. It could be due to extreme astrophysical phenomenon or be indicative of other civilizations.
Yeah, I know. Perhaps the missing objects are signs of an advanced civilization. It's like, oh my God. So they just beamed them out,
So what, you get so advanced you can just make the Earth like invisible in space, and then other planetary bodies would be searching the sky and we would appear and disappear? Well, of course.
Well, the ancient idea about this is that people, when they die, they become stars. I mean, this is over and over again.
Yeah, but these ones are disappearing. So what are happening? Maybe they're being reincarnated.
They're coming they're coming back. That would be the idea, probably.
Right. Uh-oh. Dave is celebrating over there that stars are souls now.
Yeah, I think it's pretty...
Maybe, sorry, Boba, maybe this guy, Stephen Hawking, get back to Earth.
Right.
To finish his work.
I'll be blessed with his presence again. Which one, the first or the second one?
Either one.
Well, that's
the one
with
the twin tower teeth or without. That's the.
I am not so sure.
I don't know if anybody's seen. There's actually a commercial on TV right now that is Stephen Hawking talking about some new Google phone. Have you heard it? But it's like so surprising that they do that, and that's the one that I've talked about before, where he clearly says in there, I say he, but of course it's not him. He's dead, and of course never talked. But he says that, make sure you look up at the stars and not down at your feet, which I think is hilarious. But I'm surprised they made that video because it's so easy for people to recognize now, well, wait a second, the guy's dead and you're doing commercials with his voice. Oh, wait, his voice is just a machine. So how do we know that anything that he ever said was not just out of a machine? And of course it's not. Of course it's just anybody. You could type whatever you want. So think about it. Now with that voice, you can do commercial after video after PBS special, all in Stephen Hawking's voice, and people will be just enthralled. Yeah.
I've talked about that before as well, Jaron, because I think that's quite a key feature of this. Is that recognizable voice of reason that comes out of someone who it's not functional as a normal person. Somehow that also enhances the whole myth around the person. He's so special. He's transcending all of us.
It's a genius voice. It's a voice none of us could ever attain.
Yeah, locked in this mangled body, which makes people feel sorry for him.
Right.
And then the voice of wisdom comes as a machine, which is the ultimate kind of, transhumanist sort of thing. Is a human that he's only able to communicate through a machine, and you have this electronic voice, and it's on The Simpsons, it's everywhere. And as you said, it really triggers something on people, and it can be used by marketeers. They know how to use it, and apparently it works.
Right. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't own that voice sound. So now Google can make commercials. Anybody can make a commercial and use Stephen Hawking's voice, and people will be like, "Oh man, this is so intelligent." And the other thing is, you can't make fun of him because he's handicapped. I mean, it's the same thing as when
Greta
Thunberg, right? They put her on there, and you can't make fun of her because she's a child. So they're learning their methods. If you have children and robots speaking, you can't say anything.
Yeah, it's the same as the other one. Go ahead, Iru. Sorry.
No, I mean, this interview is hilarious. I mean, when you see these three guys, Arthur C.
That's
Clarke,
the first one. That's the first one.
Yeah, Arthur C. Clarke and Carl Sagan. And sometimes in the interview, after Stephen says something, the guys start laughing. You know, like they don't even consider some kind of they. It's hilarious. I mean, I leave there to anyone who wants to see that.
Remember, I did a video way back when. I'll have to find it again. But remember when I showed that the camera behind him showed that he wasn't speaking anything, that all the lines were already on his screen. Remember that?
Right. And the best thing ever is the guy who is capable to translate him in the Young's.
Right, there's somebody that walked to him all over the place.
Let me just show that, because that is amazing. I mean, how can you have a guy to translate you when you are not even speaking?
Right.
You know, which is something. I mean, it's impossible, man. I mean, I believe a computer that could do that. That's okay. A computer could do that if you want, right? But I mean, but a guy, look what is he saying here, please, guys.
Real good engineering again.
Right. Okay, so this is the blackboard with all these crazy numbers, and let me know if the sound is also sharing.
Not right now.
Not right now. Okay, let me just.
Did you hear sound? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
There was no time to tell. Are they supposed to be speaking? No, then we don't hear.
Okay, let me just reshare. Sorry for the inconvenience. Let me go here, stop sharing, and reshare with audio. Okay. So right now,
even though he had to use a student to interpret,
it's good.
Physical appearance.
Okay. So
television.
This was supposedly the young Stephen Hawking.
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying this. Okay. Look.
Television.
Can you hear it?
His physical appearance and the way he talked about big ideas in a witty and accessible way made him unforgettable, even though he had to use a student to interpret his failing speech.
So the student is going to interpret this, okay? Take a look. What he's going to interpret.
My goodness.
This is the clip they use on Iron Realm Media all the time.
I was just thinking about that. That's what I was
So, but no. Wait for the result. Wait for the result. The result is that supposedly Stephen is saying that I don't see nothing special in the black holes. That is what he's saying that there.
What did he say? He sees nothing special with what? With black holes?
With black holes. That like something like, okay, of course it's gonna be black holes. It's nothing special. I mean, it's like talking about clouds, you know. So I'm gonna play again. I'm gonna play again.
so awful.
I feel bad for him, but it's not information, right? It's so easy to, and that's the thing. It's something so odd, you know. It's somebody that's presented as a genius saying speaking nonsense. It all becomes so mystical and actually I think maybe transcendental, I guess, in people's minds, that they just, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know, they cannot attack this guy. This guy obviously is suffering.
What's more transcendental than the person that had the greatest mind on Earth lived with ALS for the longest anyone ever has on Earth?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah,
but here comes the student translated. At least take a look at what he said.
But how many years did he overlived a regular person who suffers from this condition, Jaron?
13, 14 years at
Yeah, I
more.
think that they say
the complete carries and having a lot of money and
Yeah,
but how fast do you? When was he supposed to be dead?
Married.
I think that they told him
It happens quick.
he wouldn't live past 21. I think is what he was told when he was told he had it, and then he lived with it for well over 50 years.
Right.
I think that the closest, I think that they claim there's some guy, I don't remember if it's in Canada or something, that's had it for 40 years. But then other than that, there's nobody who even really comes close. They say only, I forgot what the percentage is, only a certain percent live longer than 5 years, and that's a very small percent, like 5%. So something like 5% live longer than 5 years.
And if you really want to go down the conspiratorial alley, you have to wonder how many different Stephen Hawkings were there. Because there seems to be some decent evidence that shows that they weren't all the same one.
That or his teeth are just magically changing all the time.
Yeah, teeth are completely different. The head shape and a bunch of things are different. But would you say there's more than two, Bob, or no?
Two, maybe three, but I don't think it was all just one. My personal opinion, anyway.
It doesn't look to me that was just one. I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here is it translated. I'm gonna leave continues.
You wouldn't see anything special if you passed inside the black hole. Once you pass a certain critical point. Then you'd never be able to get out again, no matter how much rocket power you use.
There's no freaking way he's getting that out of that.
Exactly, man.
That's bullshit.
Exactly. So quickly. He don't even doubt about what Stephen is talking about. I mean, out of the way, no, it's nothing special. When you reach a critical point, you're never going away. Okay, yeah. I mean, what? This guy may be saying, I need to go to the bathroom.
Right.
The only thing that would be funnier than hearing this would be to hear Jaron do it in his pitch-changed NASA announcer voice. Stephen Hawking, you do that, Jaron. That would be hilarious. I love it when you do that, by the way. That is just funny.
It's easy to do. You just have to add the every once in a while.
Yeah.
And we're traveling at the speed of sound here, and we've got another super chat from Mighty Matt 28.
That guy really. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, Mighty Matt 28 says, "Damn, Steven, save some pussy for the rest of us." Well, thank you for that super chat.
Gosh. This guy doesn't look like the other guy to you, or does it do? What do you think?
I don't know. He was the only guy in the face of the earth that lived so much time with that disease.
Right.
I mean, why they don't share the treatment for the rest of the humans?
Oh,
he was not even on the ALS website until Jaron made a stink about it. Remember that?
That was classic, man. I love those stories of the changes that they made.
Right.
But yeah, he wasn't on the ALS website. They didn't want to claim him because here they are telling people that you only live for 5 years and you can't live longer than 20, and he's doing fine at 50 originally until recently when he passed. But
probably the reason why they don't tell you what the therapy is that it involved trips to Jeffrey Epstein's island, right? So
right, that's another thing a lot of people don't realize is he was on the island.
Yep.
Yeah. No, there's evidence. There's even pictures of it. So
yeah.
But so were a lot of people. I think Lawrence Krauss. Obviously, that guy's not around anymore because he gotten busted with all his philanderings.
Oh, really? What happened?
I think he got busted for sexual harassment. Kind of same thing that happened to Neil deGrasse, and they kind of
Yeah, but did you see that Neil deGrasse Tyson now has a freaking masterclass?
Yeah, I know that. I saw that.
Oh boy, does he?
Oh my goodness! Yeah. It's like they don't understand that this guy has been ousted as a date rapist. Is he going to teach about raping?
Yeah,
I understand.
He got teamed up with sexual harassment panda from South Park.
Did he?
Sexual harassment panda.
Oh boy.
Okay, I'll shut up now.
No,
and you know what?
So because seriously, what is he going to teach? Because when you look at master classes, right, there's one that's like Carlos Santana, and there's like Herbie Hancock, right? You're going to learn Herbie Hancock's one of the greatest pianists, jazz pianists, and classical music pianists. Amazing. You're going to learn something if you watch the Herbie Hancock master class. But then you have Chris Hadfield teaching about space, and then you have Neil deGrasse Tyson gonna tell you what. I find it incredible. There's no skill there. You're not gonna learn anything. What are you gonna learn? Go ahead, Peter. Sorry.
No. Sorry, me. Sorry, you. Sorry for interrupted, but I was looking because I really like. I mentioned this so many times before, which is the new shamanic medicine, and all this way to think in terms of the disease that is provoked by your emotions. So I start applying that into some of, for example, because anytime that someone die, not for being old, but instead like Bernard von Braun, he died of cancer from the pancreas. I don't know. And pancreas is hate in your territory. So
it's like isn't that what else also the Apple guy had?
I don't know what is
Steve
that.
Jobs.
Steve Jobs, he died of pancreatic cancer.
And Steve Jobs also, like this guy who are like a prisoner in his own territory and do things for obligation, things like that. So I'm start looking into the what is the ELA disease, in this emotional dictionary that I use all the time and never fail. And it's really nice to see. I don't know if this is one-to-one translated, but it's it's said like when you became with this disease like ELA is a conflict of great devaluation in terms of movement. So if I move, I die, but also in notion of waiting to run away and not being able to. Lateral movement conflict with threats from behind.
So trying to leave a situation that they're in and not being able, feeling trapped, essentially.
Feeling trapped and feeling
threatened and trapped
from behind.
Wow. Something you don't want to be.
Exactly. And someone that is saying, no, you need to do this because if not, I'm going to kill you. Things like that. You can imagine, you can put in any kind of scenario. But
living with that feeling for a long time then would eventually lead to pancreatic cancer and death.
No. This is from ELA. ELA disease. This is I applied this to Stephen Hawking's disease.
Oh, okay. ALS. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, ALS. Okay. Sorry for my but English is this the technical name is this. Okay. This is the technical name. So I go to the dictionary. This is it's in Spanish, but you can find it in English also. So there you are going to have a thing that like it's a technician description of what it is, why the body reacts like that, because the body is only trying to save your life. I know it's like think like a cancer could save your life. It is a little confused, but that is the way that the body reacts, and then the normal medicines intervene you and kill you. The treatment from cancer is what is killing
destroying
you.
cells, destroying everything.
Because they use chemotherapy, which is something chemical. You are adding fire to more fire.
It kills the good cells and the bad cells.
Yeah. So I just start to translate it what it is in terms of why the body produces that. What is the biological sense behind this disease? And well, this is what I came across. I
but
just want to share
the
with
pancreatic cancer one, what did you find with that, Iru?
The pancreas cancer is, let me just translate it, pancreas, because for me, my English is very bad sometimes, and maybe with these medical terms, it's going to be even worse. So let me just go a little bit pancreas.
Yeah, you have to, Iru, you need to stop saying that, because then you're gonna stop reminding yourself, because I don't think your English is that bad at all.
I don't have any problem understanding you, Iru.
Me neither.
Me either. I understand him just fine.
Forget about it. Yeah, stop giving excuses, because if we have a problem it will tell you, and you're doing well. You're doing way better than you think you are. I think.
Okay.
Now Dell, on the other hand, I can hardly understand a word that comes out of his mouth.
Iru, is your screen frozen? What do you have up? Because for some reason I'm.
No, sorry, guys.
Okay.
I was searching here in the other monitor.
Oh, no problem. I just didn't know.
But it's like a hate in your territory.
Right. That's what the pancreas is saying.
Yes, it's hate in your territory where you're not feel comfortable in what you mean is your territory. Your territory could be your house, your bed, your sofa, your work, whatever, you know. And these guys, Steve Jobs and Werner von Braun. Werner von Braun, he could be whatever, a Nazi, whatever, but he maybe go to a place under threat to work for people that he doesn't work. He doesn't want to work.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you would imagine it's easy for us to judge on hindsight, but probably, you know, he was forced to do many things that he was not very proud of. We know he was not very proud
working
of having
with Disney, for example.
Well, I mean, we know he tried to hide that he was hiring. What did I say? That he was using slave labor and asking for more slaves to build his weapons, and he tried to hide this.
Well, of course.
And eventually, he realized that the whole thing is a mess. He couldn't go. He has that Bible passage, so we would expect him to have repented, right? At the end, maybe it was a lot of regret as well.
Yeah,
you know, because
but those guys didn't have a choice. Those guys, you know, they were captured. You know, they had no choice but to go along with whatever they were told to do. If it was create rockets, to create a space program, to go and create the idea of space in people's minds, to go.
And how do we know? And how do we know what it is to be in that situation? You know, to be threatened, you know, or you do this or you die. So,
well, I mean, anybody's lying to themselves if they're saying they wouldn't do it. To be honest, I mean, you know, if your life's on the line and they tell you, hey, we just need you to go with Disney and to convince people that we can space travel, and even at the time, maybe they believed that they eventually would. So hey, go tell people. You know, I've thought about that before too. You know,
he wrote that book, right, about how to go to the moon. You needed a rocket that was the size of the Empire State Building, just for the fuel.
But remember his plague of not plague. I mean, his tomb.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
So he's repented. I mean, he you know, he reached certain point, a critical point, like Stephen Hawking said, that he started, you know, start thinking himself, okay. This place is a closed system. We are not able to leave the Earth, and I'm still keep working here and be part of Disney and you know, all this bullshit. So
yeah, and he also started, you know, fessing up with the truth also when he was talking with you know, Carol Rosin about the whole UFO alien invasion thing.
Exactly. That's bad confessions.
Which
saying they're gonna lie to us. Yeah.
Which, by the way, takes me back to that original that newspaper article we were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah,
and
I mean, Eru, you want to bring that up?
Yeah, there were several, you know, variations and reprints of it, you know, but I mean, there was like probably 7 or 8 of them that I found just after a kind of a cursory. But beyond that, I mean, yeah, it could be completely fact. It could be complete, you know, farce. But assuming it isn't, you have to ask yourself, why would Bolden say something like that? Unless, you know, this is just a pure propaganda piece, which I'm sure we all realize that it is, you know, that they're trying to get us geared up and in the mindset for, we're going to have an alien invasion here. It's just another piece of that.
But you know what? Did you find that quote? Sorry, did you find that quote exactly what he actually said?
Yeah, it's actually quoted in the article.
No, but have you found the video?
Are all those sites satirical or no?
No, not all the sites are satirical. And that's what amazes me. But like I said, even if they are, it's still going to get out there and it's still going to be in the public's mind. So, you know, it gives them plausible deniability. It's like, oh, come on, don't you guys understand? I put it in the National Enquirer. Right. It's obviously BS. You're an idiot if you believe it. But that is exactly how they operate.
Mm-hmm. But they do push that stuff, though, because I remember years ago, before Flat Earth, and when I was looking into stuff, and I found a video where it was like a hearing of all the top people from the Air Force, all the people that oversee all of the missile silos, the nuclear missile silos, and they were all talking about how they all see UFOs, you know, all the time over the missile silos, or they would be hovering over the missile silo, and they were all basically saying that there were alien UFOs that came down and were always monitoring the nuclear missile silos. Mm-hmm. And these were all military people talking about it.
Is that like Jack Parsons stuff, or?
No, that's in the Disclosure Project all over the place. Like, you have a bunch of these guys. If you look at the first Disclosure Project with Greer going to the press club in Washington, I think.
Oh, they love
those guys are there. They're all military. They all have the same similar story, that they're deep in the ground in a silo. Suddenly, the the missiles start turn off or something like that, and somebody reports seeing a craft outside. Right, Karen? Is that pretty much?
Yeah, it was just they would just all talk about how they would, that they all felt like that it was aliens coming down and looking at what we were doing, and they were trying to say, well, I think they're watching us and they're cautioning us that we're on a deadly path, and
environmental alien type. It's like ET.
Yeah.
I'm writing something with Iro helping me a little bit for the Brazilian magazine, and it's about crop circles, because the crop circles are something that people believe it really brings them the alien. It's one of the most tangible kind of pieces of evidence. Of course, it's a fraud. But why am I saying this? I've lost my thread.
No, but something that caught my attention is how many, when he had so much time to write these many books.
Many books.
I mean,
right?
This guy worked for NASA to Disney, making rocket, taking the man on the moon, and wrote 20 books. I mean, it's amazing. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a science fiction writing, right? But it's given to the public as not, but it's the formula they discovered at that time. It is kind of reality, so-called reality show, we call it today. But it's a fiction that they present as reality, and it works because it convinces a lot of people. People will believe even the fiction. We get people that are so enthralled in fantasy movies or Star Wars and all these different things, even Beyoncé or whatever, that they take it to be their core identity. Right? You see the Comic-Con people that go to these, they dress up like characters from manga, animations.
After all, he was a flat earther. Look at the hand.
One thing, Ito, one thing, yeah, that's hilarious. One thing that I noticed, that in the video, the Mexican guy who did the new documentary, the new Flat Earth documentary, he talks about a map that Buckminster Fuller drew, and that map is a Flat Earth map.
Well, I didn't see complete the video yet.
Buckminster Fuller, the same guy who found buckyballs.
Yeah,
that's the guy.
The geodesic dome. Well, he's one of the greatest geniuses of architecture of 20th century, right? He wrote extensively. He has diaries. He's one of the most prolific writers of all time, and he's also an inventor. And I was just and I know I have a very good friend who's a great admirer of Buckminster Fuller, and I know the extent of how much he has written, and that he was kind of an utopian, trying to do things that are good. The geodesic dome is a good thing. Right? It is a strong structure. It is the structure that can hold the most amount of stuff inside. It can make these habitats. But
the geodesic dome. Yeah, sorry, I know what you got in.
No, but I'm just really, did this guy know? Because apparently in this video, I want to check this, but in this video that Edu shared with the Mexican guy that we were talking about, he points out that Buckminster Fuller had a map that he came up with in the 40s and 50s, and it is exactly a flat Earth map. But it's a little bit of a digression, but it's somebody else that I know people who admire him for his freedom of his thinking, and how he was bringing geometry and architecture and trying to solve. He was apparently, from what I gather, he was an ideal kind of scientist in the sense that we have, and that's someone who's really trying to work out the problems of the world to try to make the world a better place. So I just
like Michael Jackson, yeah.
And
also, speaking of buckyballs, that reminds me too. I just looked at an article yesterday where they were looking into deep space, and they said that they found those buckyballs in space, like deep space. I was like, how do they know that there's buckyballs in deep space? How did they see that?
How do they know anything?
Where did you get that? Where'd that from?
I don't know. I'll see if I can find it, because it's freaking hilarious. I was like, how could they possibly even know that? It doesn't make any sense.
No, and recalling the news about the stars appear and disappear, which for me it's more, if you think in terms of electricity and magnetism in the outer space, it has more sense. But I remind the lunar impact recording on January of this year, and when you see this kind of behavior, because this is real film. You can find it everywhere in different period of times. So the people that believe the heliocentric model, they believe that what I'm going to show right now in real time is an asteroid impact. Mm-hmm. I mean, take a look, and there you go. Let's reduce 90% of the real time. So that it's a what? An asteroid impact on the moon? What is the dust?
Seems legit.
What is the dust? Where's the trail?
Yeah, this is an electrical discharge for me.
Right. That's what it looks like.
What is this? Is that this from the same event, in a different place?
For the same event, filmed by the University of Helva.
Yeah, the Thunderbolts project guys also claimed the exact same thing, that this was an electrical discharge. And in fact, I don't know if it was Wal Thornhill or Donald Scott that actually predicted that would happen before the event even took place.
Wow, how did he do that? I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the thing is that this guy from Thunderbolt Project, if they believe that was some kind of electrical, but they still believe that the moon is out there in the vacuum space, supposedly if you have that kind of super big charge, it's going to spread the dust like we see here. I mean, but in the condition of the heliocentric model that they claim to be, the dust will be, like really spread out, and some of the satellite proof that NASA have orbiting the moon was able to film that. So they never think about that kind of stuff.
No, I think that they're sold on the model, for the most part. I mean, obviously they think it's electrical in nature, which is correct, but they're sold on the globe model. I don't think they look at anything else.
Right.
It's really strange.
Well, and they also mentioned the impossibility of the being pressure and no pressure, the vacuum space and so on. I think the Electric Universe guys do.
They've talked about that?
Yeah, they do. I think they say it's impossible. I think Bob can confirm that. But I think they point out that...
Oh, so then they believe it's electrical.
Yeah, because I talk about the Thunderbolts project guys. They talk about plasma. That's what they look into, and if all that's outside the Earth is electric, there could be no vacuum. And they talk about the pressure. So I think that's some of the older, maybe 2 years ago, some of the longer presentations in the Thunderbird and the Thunderbolts project. But they do assume, like you're saying, Jaron, they seem to be locked in the ball still.
Yeah, it's a tough one to kick for a lot of those guys. I mean, they've obviously had a lot of training and scientific, backgrounds. So I think it's tough for anybody in that field to face what we call facts.
It's so funny. That looks like a little mini Monument Valley. That's Monument Valley.
Yeah.
It's amazing how they can reproduce these things with electricity and sand. It looks just like landscapes. Sorry, Bob.
Even if they were looking into the flat model, they certainly couldn't say anything because that would just completely blow the credibility of the Thunderbolts project right out the window. Right?
It's funny because that they should have any credibility anyway because they're so far off. Even if they're not going flat,
But really... they have credibility in their circles. See, I mean,
in their circus.
That's
I get it. But
and it is an electrical construct. There's no doubt about that.
Right, they're right about that.
They have their scaling wrong. That's all.
Correct. It's the same thing with
by about 10 to the 120th.
Es un fenómeno atmosférico muy escurridizo y cuyo origen todavía no ha sido aclarado. En ese sentido, es de la familia de los spirits o duendes de las tormentas. Durante años se pensó que era una invención de quienes se habían visto. Hubo que esperar hasta
Iru's muted.
Forma esférica aparecen y se mueven en ocasiones muy rápidamente.
How is he? He's on mute.
Pero también aparecen
comprende.
Well, he's talking about. Well, it's translated at least. So we got the
significativa que deja un olor como a azufre.
Maybe
it's gonna end. He probably went to the bathroom.
Can I? Oh, is he back? Iru, I'm gonna dump his share. See if that helps us.
No, it's ending the video. I think he left the video on and probably ran to get a water.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry, I was with a phone call and I didn't know that this video has sound in the background. Sorry so much. Sorry.
We just lost all of our viewers. No, I'm just kidding. We're fine.
Okay. Don't go away from Patreon, please.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey,
we are talking about the electricity, but the video that was showing is very relevant because it showed sprites, and that's a big problem. And what I shown as well before we covered it here and other places is that the photographer has nothing to do with the flat Earth. Has taken photographs, filmed sprites happening 500 kilometers away in the sky at 100 kilometers altitude. Okay, which also proves that it's proof against the ball by itself. But sprites are among the most incredible. Everybody here is fascinated with it. It's always interesting to look at it and wonder what the heck is it, right? So, yeah.
Like my hey, I was going to ask you, and I forgot to ask you, Rodrigo. Is it true that the Brazilian president is a flat earther, or something to do with that, or why did I hear that?
Well, what's going on is that there's this guy, Olavo de Carvalho. He's considered the guru of the president. So he's a guy who's on YouTube. He's a philosopher that people follow. I don't particularly find these guys, these Brazilian intellectuals, worth very much of my time. I wonder why people actually follow this guy. But this guy has an influence on the president, and he has recently been following Flat Earth channels. And he has admitted that you cannot deny that the waters are flat and you cannot find a curvature. So apparently he has done that publicly. He's quite a figure in Brazil. I don't know much about him, but a lot of people respect him. He's on YouTube. He's pretty serious intellectual, I guess.
You think that's contributed to that big number of Brazilian flat earthers, 11 million or whatever we've heard?
Yeah, I mean, of course. This guy, what happened in Brazil is that, there's this guy, big guru of the president. He's going flat, apparently. Not sure how far, but on the other hand, after the first TV show, there have been several TV shows. And Siddhartha, who's one of our friends that Iro also knows, he got us into the magazine. He's one of the main people behind the magazine. He has been on TV shows for millions and millions of people, like mainstream, something you never have. Like you go into, you name it, ABC, the nighttime news kind of thing that everyone watches in dinner time. And Siddhartha has been on one of those in the Record television network, which is, dozens of millions of people watching at any time. And he was absolutely respected there. He was not made fun of. There have been some other attacks on flat earthers, but as far as we know, it's growing and it's not going to stop, and they're moving full on ahead with whatever they're doing there. So.
In fact, I was right now yesterday in my radio show, and a few days before also. In our city, the director of the planetary starts speaking about. He starts doing a documentary against the flat Earth, and it's so bad. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
So it's ridiculous. But the guy who the guy was asking him in public radio stations right now, asking for debate with me, and the guy go away.
Shitting his pants.
He's an astronomer, the director of our planetary institution here, and he wants debate with the regular guy about the flat Earth and versus round Earth. That is the kind of preparation that this guy has.
Yeah, he's out there just instead of going and talking to you. He goes behind your back without mentioning names, and he speaks in this kind of platitudes. He doesn't mention any names. He's a coward, right? He's not willing to
No, but the journalist asked him, hey, Yuri Landucci? Right. And the guy said, yes. Well, why you don't debate or talk with this guy? Because after all, you are doing a documentary about the fraud of the flat Earth. Because him, in some way, Well, no, I am not going to debate with a guy. We are not an astronomer. That because we are talking different languages, they don't they don't have a model.
Yeah, but the thing is, like his video, I saw this video. His language is very poor. He's not that
Completely
smart.
poor.
He doesn't sound intellectual at all. His explanations are very poor. He does a terrible job. So he doesn't go talk to you not because you don't have a degree or you're not an astronomer. He doesn't go because he's shitting his pants. He's gonna lose so badly. He's gonna be so humiliating. He's never gonna be able to show his face again, in my opinion, because you have done that before. And when he sees you talking to the other geologists and say that there's no chance. It's one of the things we've been seeing, that the gap is so great between people who inform flat earthers. That's why I asked the question to David before. That people who know their stuff and who have been looking at this know so much more than the people who try to debate us, that it is humiliating to them. And we've seen this over and over and over again. Wakey has shown it. Shelley Lewis has shown it. It just doesn't happen so much. Sometimes I just saw it recently, just kind of an aside. Mark Sargent was talking to some people in Sweden, and I couldn't watch it so much because Sargent said, well, the reason flat Earth is growing is because it's so simplistic. It's very simple. It's not complicated like the ball. And I disagree with that very much. But I think it was probably his way of coaxing the audience. But there's technical issues and there's a way to approach certain kind of audiences. And the way Ito does it, it's for me some of the better ways, because he brings a lot of information. He goes straight through all the data. Not that Mark Sargent doesn't have that, but maybe he's just dealing with a different kind of audience. And he's trying to just get a little bit of seed in there. But so just a small analysis here. So if we keep going with this model, like the model that Ito has, he goes, when he talks to people, he brings a bunch of figures. He has all the things printed because he knows that they may not show it. And if that's our approach, we're never going to lose. Because they've always, it's funny, and in a way it's a little bit boring, and I think it's exciting, but it's boring at the same time, because you want to move forward, like we want to tell the whole story. We want to shift the paradigm. We want to talk about the science itself and how you need to reconstruct it. But at the same time, you keep getting waves and waves of the same people, so green, including the astrophysicists, which is hilarious. But yeah, no wonder this guy's not going to talk to you. He's really doesn't. He's going to be humiliated. It's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, he has more to lose than me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think,
and it will look bad no matter what.
It's only for us to gain, is the way they look at it. They certainly don't want that. They don't want people looking into it. It's easier just to have Brian Cox say that nobody has ever believed the Earth is flat.
Right.
It's just easier to say that and move on, and hope that 95% of people watching just agree with you and move on.
Yeah, Wakey talks about Brian Cox, that he is kind of like it's for the wives, the stay-home wives or whatever. That he's like a kind of love boy kind of thing that they have out there. They swoon when they see him.
The former musician, keyboard player.
Right.
As a woman, I object to that. Highly.
Yeah, of course.
You love
I'm
it.
not
Come
so
on.
sure if you are a woman. Sorry, I don't have the proof. Well, I don't have the proof. I cannot say that that's true.
There's fighting words there. You better watch it next time you come to America.
She's going to be waiting for you at the airport.
Yep.
Oh, there's George Hanachuk's best friend, Brian Mullen.
Yeah, man. We miss you.
Hey,
we miss him. Sorry.
Karen, have you talked to Patricia Steer?
I haven't spoken with her, but I've been emailing with her back and forth. I'm helping her with her channel art for her new channel.
So she is coming back. She is,
but she's adamant about saying that her channel is not a flat Earth channel. But she is talking about other stuff, other truths, just not that one.
Oh, she's not going to talk about that one.
Well, she said she was going to talk about it, just not be dedicated, to it 100%.
Right.
Got you.
Right.
Yeah,
like it's not a purely like it's not going to be like flat Earth and other hot potatoes. She wants to talk about everything.
Yeah.
You know,
more potatoes.
More potatoes. Can you see the dark matter and dark energy keeping together the cluster of stars? But we need a liquid. We need some fluid to have that property.
So that's dark matter. They're saying this is dark matter.
No. I'm saying one of the biggest things out there in our heliocentric model is why the galaxy doesn't rip apart. Based on
crazy
velocities and things like that in the vacuum of space. But if you have some kind of no fluid, but some kind of medium that keep all together, based on electrical and magnetism, well, you can start thinking in that way, and I just showing that
but
part of
they'll never go that direction. It's the same thing with gravity. You can never get rid of gravity because gravity makes the Earth a ball, and you could never get rid of the vacuum because it makes everything be able to spin in infinite glory.
Eternal way, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And with no friction, they say, right?
Right.
That's
so
the idea
even if there is
Newton's idea.
You could come up with a lot of, you could make a whole science around it by just saying, oh, there is a fluid. And the fluid is what's holding that all together. But they'll never go there because that completely destroys everything that they've built up. And like I've talked about, science operates by the same thing as a tightrope walker. You can't look down. You can't ever look at the foundations because if you do, you'll get dizzy and probably stumble. You just have to look forward and keep going ahead and hoping that everything that you build your science off of is true in fact, and you can't even bring it into question. So you just have to go through with the assumption, the presupposition that everything that's come before you is true. It's the only way they can operate. It's how they have to get by.
Yep. So true.
And that's what's so unfortunate. That's because if any of those foundational principles, like gravity, is incorrect, then everything that you've built since then is incorrect. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't make, measuring devices that measure it, and you can't make, no, you can still do those things, but the entire...
Yeah, the way they measure gravity, though, it's like these little tiny tubes machines that supposedly have vacuum inside, and they drop weights in different places and look for how long it takes to fall. And they look for differences, and apparently they find differences from place to place, and they can't really deal with. That's one of the big problems with it, is that it changes. Gravity changes depending where you are.
Yeah, it does. And they measure it with laser interferometry, and that's the whole reason why they have those devices, because there's different acceleration rates. And that would have to do, well, if you watched last week's show, that would have to do then with the whole magnetic incoherency type of model.
Right. In different areas, the ground below you is going to be it's going to offset, it's going to be different, it's going to be slightly more conductive or less, and all that's going to change the speed that those things fall in those tubes.
Exactly.
You had on the screen just a few moments ago something really interesting. Was it Mercury being rotated with a magnet and electricity on a...
Yes, exactly. Yes, this part here, I believe, was showing that you're going to have both polarities based on electricity and based on magnet.
That is so cool.
Wow.
Hey, one thing I wanted to say, guys, just before I forget, is Robin asked me to give these guys a plug, Critical Inception and That Flat Fellow, because apparently they're going to start kicking off a U.S.-based tour, GlobeLight type tour, and they need to get up to like 1,000 subs so that they can actually get stream from their mobile devices, and I just pasted their links in the chat. So if the mods could kind of spam that, if you guys could, go out and give them some subs so that they can actually stream while they're doing their flat smacking out on their US GlobeLight tour, that would be appreciated.
And then I'll include those links in the description after the show. Right now, there's links to everybody's stuff, Karen B's channel, and of course, Patreons for the three of us, and then Globebusters, and all of our channels as well. So it's all there. Just scroll down.
Cool.
One thing I was going to ask you guys, that I'm finishing writing this piece that's going to go into Flat Earth magazine in Brazil with Iru, some suggestions by Iru, and I ended up kind of writing about the different kinds of aliens in the popular imagination, just going through some of the science fiction that, of course they have the predatory one, that's like the Darwinian, nightmare, and you have all kinds of good ones, have the ecological aliens, so on and so forth. And then we have the crop circles, which for a lot of people seem incontestable. And I'm just curious about what you guys think in general about crop circles, and or your thoughts on it from before, because it just seems like it's computer simulate. You make the design on a computer, you set it up with GPS, you go out and you can make it quite easily. It's something that's been promoted by David Wilcock and Stephen Greer and so on. So
Wilcock talks about against flat Earth a few times.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. But
he's been to Mars.
So what? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, guys.
No, I was just going to say that I've looked at crop circles for years and I find them fascinating. I'd love to go to the UK and actually look at them. But some of the things that people say that there are guys that are running around with boards that are stomping these down, and even though you can do a fairly good recreation of things like that with stomping boards and stuff, there is a definite difference between what would be considered a so-called authentic crop circle and one that is made with like a board stomper. And that is that the nodes of the stalks of whatever it is, wheat, whatever is growing there, seem to actually expand and explode on these like node points, like they were hit with microwaves, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is that
so you can do it with drones and microwaves, microwave drones that come on top of this.
Yeah, but unfortunately nobody's ever seen them, and these things have been going on literally for hundreds of years. In fact, there's documentation of this going back, into the 1700s, which of course we didn't have that type of technology back then.
Yeah, but that's very different. That looks like somebody mowing. It's described as we don't know exactly that we don't have those how do you call it, prismatic or not prismatic? What is it? What do they call it? What's the name of the fractal? Like those fractal ones, right? Those just to make clear that in the 1700s you don't have fractal things being reported.
That's true. They were far less complicated than what they are today. So obviously that would kind of indicate that technology has evolved, and whatever they're using, this microwave type thing, that is also involved. The other thing that makes them a determinant of whether or not they're authentic or not is that they have found that on all of the ones that are considered to be authentic is that they have a water table. The water generally exists just a few feet underneath the surface with all of them, almost as if this water is necessary.
Interesting.
Right. It's almost swampy there.
The
everybody's trying to talk. Go ahead, Hiro.
Go ahead.
No. The other thing that for me it's very, just for take into consideration is that the first guy who promoted the crop cycle was Robert Plot, which was a guy who belonged to the Royal Society, and it was the same guy who invented the drawings about dinosaurs. So, just for keep in mind, I mean, there is all the time this kind of path behind these guys live, and it's all related all the time. It's all related to Freemasonry, Royal Society, dinosaur things. I mean, this is the guy who created the first, and I showed this many times in the past, which is called Robert Plot. And the surname.
It's like the ball guy, that guy, the ball astronomer that talks about the ball as well.
Yeah, this was the guy who invented, or he discovered these big bones from big animals that we have, and start thinking about this maybe could be some kind of dinosaur thing, and he drew the first kind of velociraptor concept art, and he also talks about the crop cycle at that time. Just for living.
What is okay? So like Bob, you said that about the technology. I know about these nodes the being studied, and they think okay, cool. The problem that I have is that as we saw there, one of the crop circles are showing a Kabbalah. Simply, a model of the Kabbalah that we've seen before. Aliens are showing the Kabbalah for us. Okay, all right. Then they have a model of the solar system. The solar system, with the sun in the middle and all these. Like, okay, the aliens are showing us the solar system. Then we have the Arecibo message, the one that's associated with the Voyager.
Yep, that's fascinating.
That's returned with it comes back exactly the same with the silicon alien with a big head and all this stuff. And then they have another one, which is like an alien face, perfectly done, like a computer kind of alien face, and then a big disc next to it with a kind of encoded binary code in message.
And they also draw this flat Earth thing.
Sounds real human to me. Yeah, that flat Earth map. Sorry.
No, this is not real.
Okay,
I just showed. But you can believe that, yeah? You can
see it in that way if you want.
So I don't know why would it? One of the things that raises eyebrows for me as well is how the way I recall that David Wilcock talking about it and the other Stephen Greer, like they would go to some place and they would meditate together, and the next day they would have the crop that they meditated on appearing. And that for me just sounds like a magic trick, just a typical. And we know these guys are weird.
That could be very, very propaganda-like, but there's also countless reports of people that have been in there that have either become extremely disoriented or sick or euphoric or whatever, and that who knows what they're using to cause that, or it could just be their imaginations. It's hard to say.
Well, imagine, for instance, that you listen to, and you've seen this happen, and we know this happens, you've been listening to, the Beatles or Michael Jackson your whole life, you'd be singing along. When you see Michael Jackson, you're not going to be able, in person, you're not going to hold yourself. You're not going to be able to contain your emotions.
Right.
You're gonna be euphoric. You're gonna, the thing you've expected, you never thought you're gonna see. Suddenly, you see how people react when they see Michael Jackson, whatever. They lose it, right? There's reports of women pissing themselves during some of the first Rolling Stone concerts.
Right? You know what's something that caught my attention is two things. First of all, is called crop cycles instead of crop spheres. That's a nice thing to think. Yeah. No, but the real thing is, when you start looking into history of the crop cycle, it's like the aliens become more, more artistic.
Right, as time goes
on. At the same time, the computer and the technology evolve.
Amazing.
It goes hand in hand.
Hand to hand.
They're
that's right.
They're staying even with us. They don't want to give us too much. It's like
yeah. They are so kind. They start drawing just circles and connected to demons, to demons, aliens, demons.
Right.
And, the time goes by and then start drawing better and better and better as we evolve in terms of technology. So come on.
No, and they have this amazing technology. They're able to beam either with their spaceships or whatever. They choose to draw on crops.
Yeah, why they don't
choose
appear?
To talk to people? Why they don't send us message on TV?
Right.
Why did this?
Like they couldn't interrupt the airwaves and put it on Channel 7 for everyone to see. It's more important that you go out to some field that hasn't been walked in 2 months.
And it's mostly in England, and it's mostly in people are ready to interpret it for you. This is one of the things that I think is interesting. People are ready to start interpreting it for you, and it gives you, there's the one that's Arecibo. It's a model of the alien supposed transmission system, their big antenna, right? And they compare that in the Arecibo message. It has a code for the antenna that sent it in the human one, and in the supposed alien response, it has this blasting, crazy, super powerful transmission system. But the best they can do is draw a crop circle. Come on.
Yeah, and I know there's been a few that have been flat out admitted that they are frauds, obviously. The one that was in Salinas, which is where I lived 2 years ago, there was one in Salinas, and everyone was so amazed. And, of course, the farmer comes out and says he knows nothing about it, how it got there, and then it came out that it was NVIDIA who did it to publish their new their new card or something, right? You remember that one?
And they also made on purpose bad crop cycles to have something to compare and say, well, this bad crop cycle is from humans, but this one, no doubt about it, man. This is from alien. So when you start looking into these documentaries, the guy who
What's that one with the ones flying around by it? I don't think I've ever seen that.
That's that old video with where they show orbs, where they're trying to make it look like there's orbs coming down and making the crop
but
circle.
it's a fake one.
More fraud.
And this one, for example, this is a fake. That is a fake video, and they are talking about that. And this is just a regular guide with some lanterns and in the night and this kind of drawing, going with ropes and good plank boards. I don't know which is the name of that tool. Yeah. And in one night, 3 people making this super big. I'm skip forward, okay? But they are doing this really impressive crop cycles for 3 guys in the middle of the night. I mean, if you put
this is stuff that Bob was saying that it's that people have studied, not this one in particular, but there's some crop circles that people have claimed that they have studied, and that what they show is the burning, that the crops haven't been bent with a board, but that somehow something has melted and make it expand.
And you think that's possible with microwaves, Bob? Oh, sorry.
I don't know if it's possible with microwaves. It just looks like, I mean, if you were to take a plant and put it inside of a microwave oven,
right?
That's what would actually happen to it. So that's how I draw that analogy.
I like what you said about the water being underneath.
There's a huge difference.
Welcome back, Dave Weiss.
I've been here the whole time. What are you talking about? There's a huge difference between the stomp down ones that they're making and the, when I say real ones, I'm not saying aliens, I'm not saying anything. They're not
military technology could be.
And there's one, I think it's called the Geo Bolton crop circle that showed up. It had like hundreds and hundreds of perfect circles in a spiral, a flower of life spiral. It's insane, but it showed up like when there was only like 3 hours of darkness and it was in the middle of the rain. There wasn't any footprints anywhere. There was mud everywhere, except there was no footprints.
You have proof of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a video of that?
I dropped a bunch of pictures in the chat of some of my favorite ones. But what they do in a situation like this is they purposely have teams like this that you're showing right now make decent looking crop circles just to put doubts in people's minds, because the information's out. Either what are
you saying? Who are you saying?
NASA Blue Beam project.
Hold on, Dave.
You need to keep that in mind.
I mean, what it is. I think it's I don't know what it is. I go all over the place.
It's not people from across the plane. It's not people from the outer stretches. If they wanted to come talk to us, they would come talk to us.
No, it's something that has some high intelligence, but technology, whatever, that is making these things for whatever reason. I don't know what they are, but they're not cropped down. I mean, if you look at
I think what Bob's saying is probably true. I think it's some sort of technology where you're able to go where there's water, where it's been water. I mean, we know what happens with water.
It's always water underneath. Right. And did you guys? I can't find it on YouTube anymore, and it was on Stop Look Think. Hopefully, when we get that site back up soon, it'll still be there. But there was a giant circle was it Alaska, in a lake bed that showed up one night, and it was like 30 miles across. It was insane.
The Illuminati eye,
carved in the lake bed, and then people went down there like with a plow to try to just make one, and you couldn't do it. They couldn't make a straight line. They couldn't make a curved line. They couldn't do anything. And this thing showed up, and it was a Buddhist symbol of like peace and harmony or whatever. And I forget exactly when it showed up, but the story behind it is mind-blowing, and it's gone off the internet.
And another thing that is related, just to point out, is the Nazca lines, right?
Yes,
that's different, but
completely different.
But yeah, it's
for me,
symbols that you can see from above.
Yeah, this kind of crop cycles is like when the church made these virgins cry blood, for example. Right. It's like keep a religion and keep a storytelling to the public with some kind of agenda behind. And, I am more in the way of sharing things. I mean, if you want to communicate with us, you already do it. I mean, the guys who came from Europe to America, they don't make crop cycles. They came with guns and say, give me the complete gold
right?
because I'm going to kill you,
Believe
you're not going to
believe
have
you're
this
out of
kind
here.
of... Exactly, man. Yeah. Guys, I need to go away because in 20 minutes I have a dinner with friend.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop sharing. And thanks for having me on. And anyone who wants to find me, Nur Para Todos YouTube and Nur Para Todos on Patreon. So thank you so much and see you Sunday. On Sunday is going to be one more show on Globbuster?
Nope. No Sunday show.
I think I'm going to be gone for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But next Friday you can do the lounge. Yes, I know
Yes,
you're going to be across the pond.
In Linda's house. Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to find some crop cycles in Switzerland.
He was really upset. He was going to be on time on Sunday. Hey, Jared, I put a link. I found it's a Sri Lanka or Sri Yantra in a dry lake bed in Oregon. Now they're saying it's by a UFO. We don't know what it is, but if you look at how it was made, how perfect it is, and how fast it showed up, and pilots saw it flying over. It's crazy.
Gigantic Sri Lanka one, this one?
Yeah.
Let me put it up. Oh, wait. Am I sharing screen? Can people see?
No, you're not. Oh, I don't see it on Skype.
No,
Nope.
Dave can't back off his mic. It's obviously down his throat.
Oh. You know what? I'm working on it. I got a new mic.
I'm trying to help him out.
A little better.
It's so funny.
There we go.
Everybody's
Is that
voice
better?
is nice and easy in my yellow little box here, and then when Dave talks, it just red.
I'm just looking.
Just kidding. Giving you a hard time. All right. So,
I even called Karen before the show to do a volume test.
Can't you just?
Yeah, your volume's fine when you're talking normal, but then it's like you get up on the mic and you're yelling.
I get excited and I get right in there. Yes.
So how big is this, Dave? Oh, from 9,000 feet. So everybody's seeing it now. Oh wait, you guys can't see me. Sorry. Let me share screen. Start sharing. All right, now you can see what we're looking at, Dave. This is the one you're saying?
Yeah.
And you're saying this couldn't have been done by people? Is what you're saying?
Well, it showed up overnight, and then people tried to recreate just part of it by, it was like 3 or 4 inches into the hard, dry lake bed, and they couldn't figure out how to do it. They tried it with a plow, and they couldn't even make a straight line.
Lasers.
I don't know what you mean by that when you say they couldn't even make a straight line.
They tried to plow a line, using a plow, and it wouldn't even be straight.
Oh, gotcha,
because it would be wiggly and it would be choppy. And this thing was, sure, lasers. They did it with lasers. That's some laser, that's doing that from some stationary platform.
Yeah, but if you hammer a stick into the ground and you hammer a stick into the ground here, and then you hammer a stick into the ground 100 yards away, and you tie a string between them, and you just walk that string, the line will be straight. So I don't understand what you mean by you can't do a straight line.
Well, there's one thing that seen from above. We need to see this very, very close to see if it's perfectly
there's no
straight.
way it's perfect. I mean, there's definitely going to be variations. You're just not going to see that from above. Right?
Because the Nazca lines, they're not even recognizable from the ground.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, and how would you do this from the ground anyway? If you look at all of the angles, it's a perfect symbol with curves and straight lines. And it showed up overnight where pilots, and again, this could all be a bunch of nonsense, with planted stories, but the evidence that this really happened is there. So how it happened, why it happened, who did it.
Yeah, it's given in a way. If you look at the photograph, the picture, it's considered to be a model of the Earth as well. And this, have you seen If you look, but it is because when you see the more detailed ones that they do with sand. Have you ever seen those? It's ephemeral. Meaning that the monks, they go into this meditation and they use color sands to make mandalas. Just pull it up on YouTube. It's fascinating. They make these things with tiny bits of sand and color They spend hours and hours and hours making them, and they have all these details. The square, right? The square Earth with a round sky. It's something that it's part of cosmology of the Chinese, for example. The ancient Chinese, they measured the dome, and they thought the Earth was flat and it was square, and that the sky was round. That's a Taoism sort of symbology. So it's related to this that you're showing. But these ephemeral, if you look it up, if you just put on Google, Jaren, on YouTube or Google, just put the mandalas, sand, color sand, mandala sand, Buddhist or monk or anything. Mandala, sand, color, and Buddhist, and that should yeah, there you go. There you go.
Oops. And what are we looking at here?
So you see from above. Later, if you should see that they're making them, right? See how they're making them? Very detailed.
I've watched these.
And they use it.
Wow.
It's incredible. They spend a long time. Look at that, right? And it is all of them are kind of cosmological, and see that's that symbol, right, with the four corners there, the four those kinds of things so it's the same kind of thing as they showed in a crop circle, or not a circle, of course, the crop mandala. Or it's not a crop, like it's actually not a crop, right? Is something on the ground, as David was saying. Wow. So here, see, they destroy it. They make this, and then they destroy it.
Jeez. And how long does it take them to make that?
I think hours.
Yeah, it must take forever.
Hours.
It must. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everybody has their own opinions about that stuff, and I just I think it's such great alien propaganda. It's just
right.
There's very few ways that you could make humans believe that there's another entity here, and one of the ways it seems best is to do something on a grand scale like a crop circle. It just
it very well for that sole purpose, but the technology that they're using to do it is beyond what we have access to.
Well, but we've seen them turn a building into dust, right, David? That seems easy peas compared to
Agreed.
that.
That's maybe it's the same technology. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, haven't you seen those videos too, where those guys have the cars with the sound system in it, and they have the bass turned up so loud that it makes the car turn into liquid, like the door and the window are waving like they're liquid. Is that an
optical illusion, or is that really happening?
It's a slowed down, probably with the vibration of the sound, or is it?
Wow.
Is it a time lapse, or sorry, is it slow motion?
No, they play it real time, and they have like a camera show. I mean,
wow.
You guys haven't seen that?
You haven't seen that?
No, I don't think I've seen it, but I don't disbelieve that.
No, you have to see it.
You have to see it because it's a trip. I actually was going to use it. I was going to use that in my presentation to talk about how, when you talk about Tesla, if you want to know how the universe works, thinks in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And that's just an example of how frequency and vibration can change the behavior of how matter works, how you think it typically works.
What would I search for, Karen?
Bass makes windows wave.
You reminded me of the film that I watched from the 80s just recently, Christine. Have you ever seen that film, Stephen King story? And it's John Carpenter, who made The Thing and these classic horrors, A Fly. Have you guys seen this? It's a car that no matter how much you destroy it, it comes back to life. It rebuilds itself, and it's done with just techniques of it's incredible. You have to see it. Yeah, this is it here, guys. Was it?
Yeah, it's a trip.
This is crazy.
Did I miss it already? Or nope. Wow, and that's just slowed down.
It gets worse. Keep watching.
Wow, even the car itself.
Yeah.
How loud is it?
It's pretty loud.
Wow.
Isn't that a trip? Or like you'll see other videos
of these
where there'll be a woman sitting in the car when they turn the bass on, and her hair will start going nuts.
What is incredible is that it's bending it, but is not deforming it. If you know what I'm saying, it's all coming back to its original.
Exactly. It's not breaking it. It's just making it. It's making it behave differently.
Wow.
It's just like, how we understand how matter behaves, it's totally different. It's not what we think it is.
That's insanity.
Yeah, we know that sound can affect things.
This is the only video I've seen of this. I'd like to see another one.
Well, have you seen how they use sound to make water spiral in the air and seem to be going up and stuff?
It looks like some people shatter some windows.
There's a bunch of them, Dave. If you look it up online, you'll find a ton of videos like that.
All right, so it's verifiable.
I think it's verifiable.
Yeah. A bunch of people do it.
I kind of want to do this.
And that's like a thing with these people who build these sound systems in their vehicles. Like that's.
So there is a limit to how much bass you can put too.
Look how good my sound system is.
Right, and there would be a limit, right? I mean, at a certain point, it's going to break. So you can only be so loud, whatever that. And then when you think about all these NASA shuttles and they've got windows and launches, and there would be more vibration than this, at least in my mind. So it would just crack everything. I don't see it breaking yet, but
absolutely, I think it would just start shattering stuff.
Oh yeah, you can. Oh, there it went.
Actually, is this one where the window breaks?
Yeah. So you can see it start cracking, and then it goes right here, and then they go too loud, gone.
Take a look at that one, Jaron. The one I just sent. That's the one I just mentioned.
Okay.
The kind of thing I just mentioned that you can do with water, how water is affected by the magnetism by sound as it flows. There's many different kinds of similar things, but you need an ad blocker, man.
I know it's sad that I have the account too, but it's because Jeranism is a whatever they call it, a brand account of my main account. It won't let me use the ad blocker. So what do we? Oh yeah, we've seen this. Is this what you're talking about? Yeah. Oops, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. And that's just with the sound, eh? It's kind of look at that. You can even control it. It's incredible.
Yeah, just by changing the frequency.
Mm-hmm. Look at that. It seems absolutely impossible. It's kind of like those things that it's very similar to what happens in the car there. And imagine what else can happen, right? And what else they have probably done manipulating this. And you look at that. He even has a kind of slow motion effect, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about how much of our bodies are made of liquid.
That's scary.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. That's crazy. That is insane.
And apparently it's just by the motion of the hose that's causing this. And how that has a particular frequency to it.
Oh, Dave,
and also the frame rate of the camera as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a combination of the two things that kind of gives you an illusion, because obviously the water is not going backwards.
Yeah,
right.
It's kind of like when you do things in a strobe light. Right? You've seen that.
Correct.
It's the same basic principle.
They filmed helicopters where the blades aren't spinning, but it's just the frame rate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Dave, do you want to talk about? You said you wanted to say something about the Bloody Truth.
Yeah, can you pull up that website?
Yeah, it's up.
Yeah, so the channel The Bloody Truth made a new website. It's all linked to YouTube, but it gets by their algorithms. It has a bunch of great videos. He's adding more. You can search by category. So if somebody that's knows the Earth is flat or doesn't know the Earth is flat, it's a great tool to go there, pick a category, scroll down. Everything's there. The site will be great until YouTube gets rid of all the flat Earth videos. And
wow, He would link to probably some of those repositories that Jaren has pointed out. There's that friend of ours that made that. Remember, Jaren? I would really like to have that link.
That's Alex. I was just talking to him about that today. He's got all of the, obviously all of our channels archived and a whole bunch of other ones. And his website is called TROO.tube. So TrueTube, and he's archiving everybody's work.
I have that.
One good thing on this though is that if you go there, you can go to the video. You could actually go to YouTube. You can make your own playlists and then share that with other people. Just a cool site, guy. He mirrors a lot of videos. He does some videos himself. I love his work, and it's a super useful site. I think. What Jaren, say the URL? It's
thebloodytruth.ca.
.ca,
and I'll put that in the description. But yeah, you can go through all these categories. 9/11, 5G, 21 questions, 21 answers, awakenings, balls out physics, which is the Brian Mullen stuff, bubbles in space, circumnavigation, flight past, fluoridated water, glow busters. So you just click on one of those. Thank you for the super chat. I see Bad Puppet says weaponized Julie Andrews glass. Am I missing how that's supposed to be read?
Yeah. This is the kind of stuff we need, like what The Bloody Truth has done here. And
really nice.
Great shout out to him. This is excellent. And he was in Amsterdam. We met him. He brought the water, distilled water. His coffee was amazing.
That's him. See, I have the worst time connecting everybody. Okay, now I know who you're talking about. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said TrueTube.what? Because I couldn't get that.
No,
True.tube.
The other one is true, TROO.tube. TrueTube.
Right, that's Alex. That's Alex that does that, and then The Bloody Truth is Rob.
Right.
It's true.tub?
No, TROO.
.tube.
Oh, sorry if I didn't understand.
That's it. .tube.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
And you're saying everybody's stuff is up here, and this is actually hosted somewhere else, right? I mean, this is not hosted on YouTube. It's not like
no, it's actually he's got terabytes and terabytes and terabytes.
That's awesome.
Of hard drive storage that he's storing it all on.
Awesome.
That's amazing work. That's a good way to keep it up and make sure none of this stuff will go away.
Yep.
It'll remain there. So, yeah, give them some love. I'll put both those links in the description. What else am I going to put in the description? I'll have links to the B stream, both when David was on with Anthony Cumia, and then also when he was on the KSCO.
Very good.
Flight 1080.
Yeah. And then
TrueTube doesn't come up for me no matter what.
No,
it's very strange.
TROO.
True.
No, I got it the way he's written there. I got everything right, but it says waiting for TrueTube and it never comes up.
Well, it does seem to be a little bit. I mean, this is the problem with loading all this stuff on your own servers. It's going to slow.
And then when I search TrueTube on Bing, it brings up porn sites. Believe it or not.
Don't click those. No.
No. Oh, I found it. Okay, Google actually brings it up. Believe it or not.
Yeah, it looks like it's got like Richie from Boston Archives. I saw Russian vid stuff. Some of the stuff's taking a little while, but I do have a lot of things open on my PC right now, so that could be the reason as well.
Mine doesn't load.
It does load slow though. It does load slow.
Total downloaded 122 KB. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's taking a little time, but again, shout out to anybody trying to do this, because even when I tried to post my own videos on my own website, it slowed down my website to a crawl. Which, by the way, I should mention that I saw a couple people message me and say something's up with my website. I do know that. I've tried fixing it quickly and couldn't do it, so it'll take me some time. So give it a few weeks. My plan is by the first of the year to do something completely new over there anyway. But just hold on, because luckily I don't post any videos for just patrons, or at least I haven't in a few months. So there's nothing there that you can't find elsewhere. If you're on my website trying to log in with the Patreon login, it's not going to work right now. But I do know that and apologize, but it will get fixed soon. It has something to do with the add-on. What is it called? Yeah, the plugin that's supposed to mirror up with Patreon. It's just not working right now. So,
Jared, did you get to use the chat feature from Restream.io?
No, but Bob used it. I haven't learned how to use it yet. He was able to basically show it on his OBS. which I thought was weird. I don't know how to do that, but I think Jaron knows how. So I'll have to
yeah, exactly, because I don't do it. Jaron did it, so I'll have him hook up with you and tell you how he did it.
Okay, yeah, because basically it just became part of OBS, right?
Yeah, it came right in an OBS window. It was awesome.
Right.
And you could also select if you wanted to type a message to both streams, you could, or you could single one out over the other, which was kind of cool.
Right from that main page, huh?
Yep, right from the main window.
Okay. So anyway, we'll have Bloody Truth and we'll have true.tube in the description, so people will be able to find that. What are you guys sending me now? I see a bunch of things coming across. Let's see.
I sent you a link to the I think it's Geo Bolton crop circle that showed up in the middle of the night in a rainstorm, and the scale of it is beyond sticks and ropes or your imagination.
What?
Here, watch.
Let me show everybody else because they're not seeing.
Yep. So those little circles are gigantic.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, that's it. You got to go back now. Jump back. You know, you can use the J or the L to jump back 10 seconds.
My keyboard's currently under my desk, but anyway, yes. I'd have to wheel it out. Wait, where was it?
All right, guys, I got to jump again. Thanks. See ya.
All right, later.
Later.
So I guess I just don't get it. I don't know what he means by it can't be laid down, and then they show you the ground and it's laid down. I mean,
yeah, it's big, but
I think he means beyond the plank and ropes.
Another thing I've just never agreed with is when somebody says, too, it just showed up overnight. I mean, that's very easy. All you'd have to do is pay the owner of this land $10.
The thing is, like,
hey, $10 to say that this happened overnight. Okay, I'll say it happened overnight. That's all it takes.
Yeah, but Iru's documentary that he's talking about is the one that I've been using as a basis to write this thing that we're gonna put out. What I was gonna say about it. In it, they show that these people who calculated this big crop circle, which is similar to this, it shows the kind of this kind of pattern, but they did it overnight as well. They did it in a few hours.
Right.
And they had it kind of plotted in a plan, and they just went to the different points in the plan, and they executed the circles.
Right. One other thing I wanted to mention about so-called authentic crop circles is another difference as compared to the mash down with a board and rope type of thing, is that the stalks are actually interleaved. They're interwoven. They cross each other over in a very intricate pattern.
I remember you telling me that, and I looked that up, and that was true. That was kind of hard to
believe. They get woven, somehow woven.
Right, they showed that. So that I don't think can be done with a plank.
Yeah, I see that.
No. So I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how they're doing the microwave, with the stalks actually getting at those node points where they're getting them to expand and actually blow up sometimes. There's obviously some sort of technology at work, but what it is, I have no clue.
So there's handmade ones, and then there's more technological ones that, I mean, you would imagine that if we have drones now, right? We have commercial drones that you can make follow you and keep the camera pointed at you no matter how much you roam around the landscape. They can keep track of where they are, exactly where they are in relation to the ground with some level of accuracy. You'd imagine that they would have drones that can have some sort of laser guiding system where they can remain in a formation, perfect formation. Somehow then they use their directed energy technology for this application where they are able to draw on surfaces. And that could be, you can start that with a prototype in a laboratory and then move on to larger and bigger projects. And these things, especially the one, if you show later, Jaron, the one that shows the alien face, it's so clearly a human type of drawing, right, that we've seen before, and created a kind of computer-generated type of thing. And it's the one that if you put crop circles, it pops up. It has this alien with a big head, but it's a photograph of an alien with a big head. It's not a conceptual mathematical fractal sort of representation of something that then some mathematical expert can come out and explain to us how advanced it is, but it's apparently not advanced enough that we don't understand it, which is always a curiosity here. right? Because these aliens are super advanced. To be doing crop circles, you have to be so advanced somehow. Like I would imagine that they should be making trees grow out of the ground with fruits popping out of them and houses on top of them already built with their technology. They're plasming, using plasma to build things out of nowhere, to make the dirt come up as a building, as a castle. That's the kind of thing I expect from alien advance, not some drawing on a crop, but still entertaining the idea that that's a smart thing. And it seems amazing that there's we know it's some sort of microwave technology, that things are getting burned somehow in the water there. So what I suppose is that it's something like this, with some aircraft or something that go over the area, find a proper area that they can tell there's water underground for whatever reason. They can pull that up to the stalk, make them bend and fall in different patterns. It seems pretty fascinating how it works, but it doesn't seem to me something as fantastic. Of course, we have the holograms that we can get into that later, the blue beam, alien invasion or a fake invasion. But as Jern has said, this allows for the intrigue to flourish and for people to continue to be fascinated, especially with the connection between spirituality and aliens. Which is one kind of alien. This is one of the things I'm trying to explain, because you have so many different kinds. You have the predator type that hunts humans, the Darwinian evolution, the big head, which is the one that goes back to Aleister Crowley's demon that he contacted. That's a kind of gray sort of, and there's people arguing that they are actual dimensional or spiritual beings that have, through satanic ritual abuse, taken over some people in these satanic cults like JPL and NASA, through what we know from Jack Parsons and so on. So there's a lot going on here, and we know that there's a lot of deception. So it is something genuine in that what we call, when Bob says your real crop circle, of course he's talking about the ones that are employing some sort of technology that allows for pretty impressive feats of art, it seems to me. But they seem very much too human and very attuned to the narrative that propagandizing the idea that aliens are here. And there's so I'm trying to get into the variations of the theme of aliens that we have in the popular imagination. Go ahead, Jaren. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, it's just the whole lore of aliens, and that they're here and they're protecting humanity, and we're not ready to enter the Galactic Federation, and it plays into that perfectly, I think.
Yeah, that's one line, right? That connects to theosophy. The idea of these ascended masters up in the sky. Then there's a galactic federation. These guys, for the people who are spiritualists and believe that they're these, what they call it, Nordics, and that there's some sort of fight. They have one storyline that they come and talk to Eisenhower. There's the Greys, and right? You know this one?
Yeah, of course. And then they stop using nuclear weapons, and there's light beings here, and the whole thing.
Yeah, they play on all sides, and the end game is the background of space. While people discuss the details and expect to be saved from different creatures that are coming, we cannot ever do anything by ourselves according to these narratives, right? The ancient aliens, the aliens came and gave us something. Humans cannot figure anything out. Right. So we need to have some sort of saviors.
Pay attention to your masters, to your governors, to your government. Make sure you adhere to what they say, because they're in communication with these beings which are keeping us safe and helping the Earth survive, and we have to pass these tests if we want to be welcomed into the
exactly. Also legitimizes, I guess you're hinting at how it legitimizes government itself, because government is sought by the aliens to
right. The aliens come and talk to our governors. They don't. They would never communicate with the less.
Unless it's Stephen Greer, right?
Right. Well, he
talked to him.
That whole story is great. All right.
Because he knows Rockefeller.
It's been almost 4 hours, 3 hours, 45 minutes long show today, but let's round it out. But Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. good tidings to you and your friends, or whatever else you want to say. Whatever you celebrate, enjoy celebrating, enjoy family and all that fun stuff. We'll go around quickly and let everybody know if there's anything coming up, anything they need to be paying attention to. Let's start out with Bob. Bob, you there?
I am indeed. Okay. Well, not a whole lot's going on here for me. We're just, we're preparing for the holidays, got family coming over, and I'm kind of looking forward to having a few weekends off. And I'll be in chats and stuff, but no shows. And we'll be back after the first of the year. I don't know if it's going to be the first or second week in January, but we'll definitely be back then.
Okay, and you are welcome. I know if you can't, I understand, but we are going to do the lounge next Friday. So if you want to join us, you're welcome to pop in and say hello. Okay,
absolutely.
Yeah. Up next, we have Rodrigo. Anything finalized you need to tell people?
Well, keeping this going, trying to finish his article for tomorrow for the magazine there in Brazil.
Right.
And a bunch of other things, writing music, reading involved in that. It's going to be kind of funny when some of it comes out.
Yeah, I did the interview. I don't know if you saw the interview yesterday with Douglas Falk, but he talked a lot about you doing possibly a score or a track for his audiobook. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
I want to give it a try. I mean, I don't know. I don't expect too much. I'll try. We'll see how it goes. I wouldn't, expect too much. I'm trying. I'm doing some quite interesting, I think at least, things here for classical music people. I'm writing these things with different, like 10 vocals that I'm singing, and it's really weird. I'm getting into this vocal music, Baroque vocal music. It's odd. I don't know what's happening to me. I'm just kind of, I get all teary-eyed. I hear this stuff, and I was like, oh my goodness, like some of this stuff from the 16th century. It's really weird. But, and I kind of using it kind of in trying to do a modern thing. And there's some things that are flat earth in theme, and something with Alex that I promised to him that I'm finishing. We tried so many ways, and it was basically, I created the whole horns for this very interesting thing that Alex has done. It's a great job. So I need to go and give him an extra effort and try to finalize my part, because he's done everything already. So I feel kind of bad. And I helped the Friends of Yahweh as well with the translation of his the rap battle materials into Portuguese, which was great as well. So there's a bunch of things, and of course I translated Jaren's film. And that got me interested in doing more of these things, but it does take time. And in the middle of so many other things in the end of the year, I've mentioned that I've worked on, and I have plans to translate a bunch of things. I made a presentation about Paul on the Plains series in Portuguese. I went for a while. I didn't do a translation, but I covered a lot of the material. And, I realized that I was taking a lot of things on, and that I need to first get a lot of things done and then take things one at a time, right? And so we'll see how it goes and try my best. So, and Jaren, of course, thank you so much for the opportunity of being here and for your help. Bob as well, and Karen, always been on my channel. She's one of the few people who've been on my streams all the time and moderating and helping out. So thank you guys so much for having me.
No,
here.
As always, thank you for joining. I love having you join us, and I love everything you've got to say. Make sure you tell Louise Merry Christmas.
I will.
All of us, or at least from me.
It's looking great. Looking great. The belly's growing.
Good. I bet.
Great.
When is she due?
April, May.
Ooh,
April, May. It's a new month.
Gonna have a Taurus baby like me. Awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna have the home birth in a pool.
Nice. That's what Miss and I will do. Awesome.
Awesome. Are you planning, or are you already on, Jaren?
No, we're trying. So it hasn't happened yet, but should happen soon.
That's fun. That's always fun.
Yeah, can't complain about that, right? So, thanks
Wonderful.
for joining us. Appreciate that as always. Yeah, so people can check that out. I did an interview with Douglas Falk yesterday. That's on my YouTube channel or D Live as well. And then also check out Raw. We had a pretty good Raw on Monday night. And I don't know if people know, but we did an hour after show with Lindsay from Rogue Ways, but that's only available on DLive. We went off TFR and then realized that we would just stay on DLive. So I think, Karen, you were there, right? Yeah, Karen heard most of it, I think. That's where she asked to be on this show, I think. So, yeah, check that out. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is just make sure you check out Potter's Clay video, at least the first one that's, we talked about it a little bit, but he's going to answer all those questions, and he has the Rob Skiba video. I just think there's so many answers when he shows how the sun moves away, how he shows how the sun stays the same size, how he shows how buildings get eclipsed from the bottom. There's really not a better, in my mind, 10-minute video where you could really show somebody and wake them up. So, yeah, check out that. That'll be in the description as well. I'll keep that link. So make sure everybody checks that out. Karen B., anything people need to know? What do you have coming up this week?
Well, I have this regular Thursday show that I do with Brian Stavely now. We call it Unveiling the Realm, where we talk about everything Flat Earth and everything related to Flat Earth. Huh?
Nope, nobody said anything. I don't.
Oh, okay. There's a weird sound thing going on.
I typed by mistake. Sorry.
It's at Jaren's echoes every once in a while. It screws with me too.
Oh, okay. And we'd go back and forth between my channel and Brian's channel, and we do that every Thursday at 9. And we also take calls, and we talk about everything. So I have that I do. Also, working on more videos for Dr. John D. So if you're interested in some technical, geeky flat earth proofs, you can go sub Dr. John D, and you'll hear me narrating his videos. And also the mini Globelite tour that we were talking about earlier, where we were promoting Critical Inception and that Flat Fellow, that is actually happening in and around my area. So I will be joining them for at least a few days of that tour, doing some street activism and hopefully streaming from my channel if he's not able to stream from his channel, or we'll probably both stream. But yeah, I put that little graphic in there that has the dates.
Let me put it up so people can see it, because I don't think I had it up. There we go.
Yeah, so that's happening late December, early January, in and around North and South Carolina. So that's what I have going on.
Hey, Karen, you forgot something.
Uh-oh.
What did I forget?
You forgot Tuesday night. You're soloing.
Oh, that's right.
Riding solo?
No, well, I also co-host Strange World every Tuesday with Mark Sargent now. And this Tuesday, Mark is going to be off on vacation somewhere. So I'm going to be running the spaceship by myself.
From a bunker deep down inside. Yes. Awesome.
Right.
Well, that should be a fun show. You taking calls?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I'll be taking calls on cool. TFR, Tuesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern.
There you go. Everyone should be subscribed to TFR, or at least, be a sub over there. Be a member. Is that what they're called? Members? I don't know. Then you get all the archives of all the great shows. Mark Sargent's show, my show, Rob Skiba's show, Paul on the Plane. There's so many people over there I can't even count. It would take me forever. So everybody should check that out. All right. Is that it? Karen, any final words?
That's it. Thank you for allowing me to invite myself onto your lounge.
No, I would love to have you whenever. We need a voice of reason. And sorry you had to hear penis as soon as you came on the air. That wasn't...
That just makes things more interesting.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of fun.
It's always good to have a mother around, I think.
It keep us in line, right? Us boys can get out of control.
Yes,
so that's true.
That's right. I get a lot of comments in chat now that I'm the flat Earth mom. I'm the mom. I'm okay with that though. That's okay.
Take that. All right. So yeah, and for me, thank you to all my patrons. Obviously, they allow me to do this, and I can't say thank you enough. Patreon.com/jeranism, and then also in the description is the Patreon for Iru and for Rodrigo, and it would be awesome if you support what you like, or it goes away. So that's a great thing. And if you ever want to mail them anything, some people don't like those online methods. You can mail something if you want to Rodrigo or Iru. I'll make sure they get it. P.O. Box 3044, Merced, California 95344, or send me something if you want. And you can also send a tip through Venmo. I know a lot of people don't have that, but it's a pretty cool app, so maybe you should get it at Venmo. It allows me to send money to Bob too. So thanks, Bob, for being there in case I ever need to do that, to send it off to other people. So nope, that's about it. I think that is it. We just want to say Merry Christmas to everyone. I will for sure be back for Monday, the 23rd. We'll be on Raw, And again, we're going to have the lounge next Friday, and you never know when we'll go live in between that. So happy holidays to everyone. We'll see you after Christmas. I remind you to do your own research, because when you do, you'll never again believe what you've been taught. Till next time, guys, this has been Jeranism and crew with the Friday Lounge. Till then, peace.
Peace.
Peace.